important that as a commission, we are able to produce a register that is credible to ensure free and fair election. It is also important for us to be able to let the public and all stakeholders who are involved in the production of the register to understand the various processes that we undertake to ensure that the register is clean, credible, and would ensure that there's a transparent election come December 2024. And therefore, my presentation this morning will be situated on the processes that we've undertaken so far to ensure that the register is clean, and also to carry along everybody to understand the processes that we undertake. I believe that in this particular method, we will be able to let people understand the various issues that come about when a register is being produced. And we will also elucidate the problems that we've had with the register that requires that it be fixed. So my agenda of the presentation this morning is to review the various Electoral Commission's processes. As has been said by Madam Chair, we have received some complaints from the National Democratic Congress, which demanded for an audit of the register, a forensic audit of the register. We will look at those issues as well. I think this is also strong. Hi. Okay, I think this is better. We will look at those issues that have been raised by the NDC, and we'll give you some commentary on it, as well as for us all to understand that even though some of these issues were brought up by the National Democratic Congress, these are issues that the Commission had already picked up and had resolved the majority of them. But it's important for us to address them so that we all are clear in our minds that the issues as raised have been dealt with and are no longer issues. And we'll also let you know some of the issues that we encountered during the exhibition exercise and how we fixed it. So as I've already said, and Madam Chair has also eloquently earlier on said, the production of the final voters register is not an event. It is not a single event. There are various processes that we undertake to ensure that the voters register that we finally use for the election is clean. And this involves processes right from the registration of eligible voters all the way to the sitting of the DRROs. So in between them, we've got transfer of voters, we've got registration for special voting, we've got proxy voting registration, all that leading to an exhibition. And after the exhibition, we have the DRRC sitting, the DRRO sitting, and then finally we get to the final voter register. It is also important to realize that extensive work has been done during the exhibition period with collaboration with voters themselves who have gone to the various exhibition centers to explain their issues, as well as active participation by the Electoral Commission staff itself. So I will quickly move on to review the processes that we undertake, and we'll start with registration. This is a flow diagram of what happens during the registration process, and it starts with the applicants themselves. So your applicant would start by going to the registration center. He appears before your registration officer, and the registration officer will go through the process of checking for the eligibility of the person, whether he's a Ghanaian, he's about the age of 18, he's of sound mind. And then if he meets all that criteria, he's allowed to fill a Form 1A. Once the Form 1A is completed, he then goes to have his biometrics captured. You will recollect that in 2020, the registration that was done was largely an offline registration, mass registration. And so we took your details and then subsequently moved the details to our data center for processing. It's important to note this difference because now in 2024, and indeed even in 2023, we changed that mode of registration. We now included the online registration that allowed for us to be able to immediately check when somebody is registering whether they have already registered before. The importance of this step is that it prevents the long process of deduplication. Deduplication is the process where we go through our entire database and try and remove duplicates from the system. And it is a laborious, long drawn process. Our ability to do the online registration now meant that as at the time that the person presents to the registration officer, we are able to check to be sure whether he's in the database or not. If it's already in the database, registration does not proceed and the person goes away. If it's not in there, then we get a registration. Having said that, for the 2024 season, we did have some offline registration, and these were registrations to places that were difficult to reach, difficult to access, riverine areas where we didn't even have communication to be able to do the online registration. But it was very minimal. Majority of the registrations that were done for the 2024 season was done through the online registration method. So once that is done, an applicant might either be challenged here. Now, if you are challenged, your voter ID card is retained and you are given a time to appear at the DRRC to justify why you should be included onto the register. If there's no challenge, if there's no issues, you are then allowed to take your card away and then your registration completes here. So that's the registration process. And it is important for us to understand that we have two modes, the online and then the offline. And when we come to the discussion on the missing voters that are reported as being missing, we will realize why the offline registration results in that. Now, this is a slide that we've had since 2020, and it describes our registration process and the various centers that are involved. So you have the registration center, you've got the district offices, and then you've got the data center where we've got our automatic biometric identification system that does all the deduplication to ensure that we have just unique individuals within our voter register. And that is what ensures the one man, one vote. Okay. Now, this is the old system or the earlier system that we had that was offline. So we had files that needed to be exported from the machine and sent to the district offices, and from the district offices to the data center. As you can see, it's a combination of human resources and IT, and therefore there's always the likelihood that there may be errors along the chain. So for instance, a BVR kit could get damaged and we may not be able to retrieve all the data that is in the kit, and that might result in certain voters register, certain voters details not being available in the main database. They may have a valid voter card, they may have a valid Form 1A and Form 1C, but because data got lost in transit, they may not show up in the main register, and therefore we would classify those individuals or applicants as missing voters, and there are mechanisms in place to ensure that they are included into the final register. Once all this is done, as I've said, we have the deduplication process. The deduplication process now is only for offline registration. We don't do deduplication for online registration because right at the registration stage, we are able to search for you using all your 10 fingers where available and your face and make sure that you are not on the register. Right. Now, as I've said, the deduplication process, it takes all 10 fingerprints of an applicant and the face and compares it to all 10 fingerprints and applicants of all the 18 million records plus that we currently have in our register. And like I said, it is resource intensive, it takes time, and it is better that we move or strive to move towards online registration that significantly cuts down the time that is required. So if ABIS is able to identify you as having done a registration before, and it is very confident, at a very high confidence level, automatically would move you onto what we refer to as a multiples list. Remember that in the voter register, we have three possible lists that you can be on. You can be on the valid voter list, the exceptions list, which means that you either have a challenge or an objection to your registration, or you may be on a multiples list, which means that you have engaged in multiple registration. So if ABIS picks you up as having done a registration before, it then moves you automatically into the multiples list. Sometimes ABIS is not able to determine 100% that this is a unique individual or it is a multiple registration. In that instance, it then flags you for adjudication. And the adjudication is a manual process that is done. And as Madam Chair has already said, ABIS adjudication, we do it together with the political parties and CSOs. So the political parties and CSOs will sit down and then come up with rules that determine the assessments of people who have been determined by ABIS as having done multiple registrations but are not quite sure about it. So the ABIS adjudication process is what I've outlined here. So there's adjudication match in ABIS, which means that ABIS thinks that you've done multiple registration, but it's not sure, 100% sure that it is a multiple registration. So individuals will sit down and then they will look at it. If they think it's unique and that it is, if they think that it is unique and that you haven't done multiple registrations, you are put back on the register. If it is not, you are moved from the register and put onto the multiples list. Now, this adjudication process is not done by one single individual. The way the system is set up, you have people designated as operators and there's a supervisor. So no single individual takes a decision as to whether somebody has done multiple registrations or not. Each operator gets assigned a case, and the cases are assigned blindly and randomly to an operator. So two operators will get a case that is complete. They are not aware that the other person has gotten the case because they are all using different terminals to do this process. If two operators agree that this person is a unique individual, the adjudication process has completed. Two people have agreed that this was a unique registration. The person moves on to the voter list. If the two of them say that they are duplicates, they all agree independently of each other that they are duplicates, they move on to the multiples list. If there's a conflict, then a supervisor's attention is drawn and he will sit down, look at it together with other supervisors and determine whether the person is a unique, whether the registration was a unique registration or it was a multiple registration. And as I've said, these decisions that they take are still reviewed by an adjudication review committee. And it is the same adjudication review committee that consists of political parties and CSOs that come up with the rules that we use. And then finally, when all these decisions have been taken, they also sit and review and confirm that the decision that has been taken by the operators and their supervisors are correct. For the 2024 period, these are the adjudication rules that were set up by the adjudication review committee. Quickly, I'll go through it so that because it tells us the scenarios that are possible. So for instance, for the first case type, if an applicant registered on a different BVR kit, and that's our registration kit, at the same registration center, in the same period of registration, and all the applicant's biographic details match, it is likely that this was an accidental duplicate. By accidental duplicate, you will recall that in the earlier stages of the registration, the Commission had some network challenges. And what it meant was that some of our operators were a bit impatient. So they kept on clicking the submit button, and they submitted the registrations severally. So if you look at the date of the registration, you would realize that they differ. The timing of the registration, some of them even differ by seconds, some of them by minutes. So obviously when you see this is not likely to be somebody who intended to do a duplicate registration. So we considered it as an accidental duplicate. So same scenarios but different instances are what the adjudication rules that were put together by the adjudication review committee, and this is what was implemented for their review. Once all this has been done, and we have a list that has been certified by the adjudication review committee, it is then implemented in the system, our voter management system. Then the EC staff then implements these decisions in the voter management system. And once again, this is the workflow. A case, all the cases that go for adjudication review committee have a unique case ID. So they will enter the case ID in, and then they will look at the scenarios, the various scenarios, the decisions that have been arrived at, and then apply them. Once they apply them, you either move onto the valid voter register or you're on multiples list. And that is how the process goes. So it is not a process that is shrouded in secrecy. This is a process that is well documented, and it involves all the political parties. And once you enter onto the multiples list, it is clear that you indeed have done a multiple registration, and it is not the doing of anybody in the Electoral Commission to determine who moves onto the multiples list or not. Remember that the system that we use is biometric based, and biometric systems, they don't know tribe, race, sex, or political affiliation. Once you've done a multiple registration, you've done a multiple registration. There's no qualms about it. Having said that, remember that there's a process in place that allows you to take the issue to either your DRRO and have the case looked at for them to determine whether there was some intention or not for you to have done this multiple registration. So being on the multiples list doesn't mean that you cannot get off, but there are processes that you have to undertake to ensure that you get off the multiples list. Quickly, we'll look at the voter transfer, because the voter transfer process has also been one of the issues of contention that has come up. So it's important that, as Madam Chair has said, the process of transfer of votes is a legal process, and it's a legal process that has been allowed by law. The Commission does not determine who gets transferred. It is an individual who determines that they want to transfer their votes either from one polling station to another or from one district to another. For so long as they fill the right processes and has been reviewed and has been adjudged to be correct, people are allowed to transfer their votes. So the process, once again, is you go to your district office where you intend to transfer your votes to. You complete a transfer form, and then you put in the preferred polling station that you want to be transferred to. Your district secretary will review the form and then go ahead and verify your biometric details, either by facial or fingerprint. I need to pause here a little bit, because when we come to the issue of transfers that occurred in Pusiga, which is something that we'll discuss later on, this becomes relevant, because the verification of a voter is done either by the fingerprint or by your facial record. Now, if it is being done by fingerprint, the ability for us to detect that somebody is trying to fake or spoof a fingerprint is already inbuilt into the fingerprint scanner. So it's easy for us to detect. However, for facial, as at the time that the system was deployed in 2020, the facial recognition ability to detect the liveliness of an individual was not matured and was error prone, so it wasn't implemented. But this is 4 years down the line, and the technology has now improved and now has been implemented into our system. But as I have said, verification is done either by your facial records or your fingerprints. Once you've been verified to be who you say you are, then the registration goes on. If we cannot verify you, the process ends right here. No transfer happens. But if we verify you, then a review of your application goes on. If the DEO, which is the district election officer, doesn't think that the transfer is proper, the process also truncates there. If it does, the transfer is approved in our system called the OVRS, which is what we use to manage the district electoral system. And then you get printed a new voter ID card. The process ends. So that is the process of transfer of votes from one polling station to the other. And that, in summary, is all the processes that we have ahead of the exhibition exercise. So this tells us how and what we go through to ensure that we have the provisional register ready for exhibition. Once again, it is not a complete register. It is a register in transition. It is a register that is ready for correction, modification, input from all people who are associated with the generation of the register. From the applicants, political parties, stakeholders, including CSOs, are all involved in the processes that lead up to the generation of the provisional voters register. Quickly for context, I have some important dates that we undertook certain things. So registration period, the first registration period took place from the 7th to the 29th of May. And then there was a mop-up from the 1st to the 3rd of August. Then we had transfer and proxy voting applications. I haven't spoken about proxy, but proxy in essence means that I'm selecting somebody to vote for me in my absence because I may not be present on voting day. So transfers and proxies occurred from the 30th of May to the 14th of June, first instance, and then we had a second instance from the 3rd to the 5th of July. Special voters are individuals who on election day may be participating in certain activities like members of the press corps, security services. So we allow them to vote a week ahead of election. So there's a special voter register that is created for them. And therefore, you are allowed to register for special voting. That too, we had from the 17th of June to the 1st of July. And then we did a second one on the 6th to the 7th of July. The provisional voters register was exhibited from the 20th to the 27th of August. And as Madam said, we have DRRC meetings that took place from the 14th of May to the 4th of June. This was for the first registration that took place. And then there was a mop-up that took place for the 2nd to the 4th of August. DRRO sittings, as we said, were from the 11th to the 20th of September. And now, where the stage that we currently are in now, in the process of the final register generation, is the implementation of the DRRO decisions and a review of it, because we want to make sure that whatever the magistrate has decided to be implemented, after it's been implemented at the district level, the head office also checks and be sure that the exact decision that the magistrate has decided that to be implemented is what has been implemented and not otherwise. So that is the process that we currently are undergoing. Now, quickly, we will look at some of the issues that came up as a result of the exhibition exercise that we took place. And I like to focus largely on how the issues were resolved. And as Madam Chair has already said, these are processes that are not new. These are processes that we've undertaken since 2020. And so it's not a new thing that has been done. The same processes that we've undertaken since 2020 is what we are doing. And as I've said, exhibition and resolution of exhibition issues is everybody's civic duty. And therefore, all voters, all political parties, CSOs get involved. At the commission level, we deployed several mechanisms to ensure that the provisional voter register was cleaned. Largely to ensure that the voter register that we will get at the end of the entire process is strengthened and then guarantees accuracy. So some of the things that we did was to allow input from all applicants and voters. We also allowed people to amend and change their registration details, because sometimes there may be an error with the sex that was assigned to an individual, or there may be errors in the names, or sometimes polling stations that the persons were put in were wrong and therefore needed to be corrected. And then, as we've already said, the implementation of the DRRO decisions and then corrections of the identified errors. 4 levels the approach was done at 4 levels. The first level, which we consider a manual process, involved the district officers. Once they took custody of the registers, they manually went through the registers page by page at the exhibition center and tried to identify issues that were with the register and subsequently reported for it to be attended to. Then we had the electronic method, So the electronic method is what the district election officers and their secretaries use an application that was developed called the District Register Viewer that allows them to look at the register as is. Remember that errors were being corrected, errors were being reported, and they were being corrected. So it was essential that once an error is corrected, they be able to look at it and confirm that indeed the error had been corrected. So they had access to this tool that gave us the voter database as is. And so they were able to verify whether errors that had been reported had been corrected. And that was the electronic means. At the regional level, we had the regional directors and their deputies having access to similar tools that they used to check that the errors that were being reported, had they been resolved? Were they still persisting? Could they escalate it further so that we could resolve it at the head office if it's something that could not be resolved at the district offices? And obviously at the national level, we could see everything that was going on. And therefore, together with electoral services, we were able to resolve some of the issues that could not be dealt with at the district level. And we used our own tool in-house, the VMS and the OVRS, to resolve some of these issues. So you can see that at different levels, a lot of attention was being spent looking at the issues as they came, as they reported, and resolving them. That is why we were confident that the issues that had been reported from certain quarters were actually being dealt with because they were not new, and we had seen them, and were fixing them as and when they were reported. Quickly, we'll look at the top identified issues that we had. As I've already said, missing voters was one of the leading causes, the leading issues that were reported. And it was because of the offline registration and, in some instances, biometric data being corrupted. So sometimes the biometric data within the biometric database gets corrupt. And remember that it is a biometric voter register. So if your biometrics are corrupt, you end up not being shown on the register. So sometimes people who report or who are reported as having been missing from the register, we actually have their registration records. But because their biometrics are corrupt, they don't show up in the register. And way before or soon after the exhibition started, we had a list of all those affected individuals, and we have started correcting them. We had issues of people being placed in wrong polling stations. Remember that the registrations were done in district offices. So certain times people are not sure which polling stations they want to be in, and therefore they would come and say that I was put in the wrong polling station, can I be put into the proper polling station? We had a number of them like that. And as I've already explained, we had accidental duplicates. We had issues of voters who were transferred. And you know, once you get transferred from one polling station to the other, you are marked as absent from the polling station that you transferred from. Unfortunately, when the registers were being generated, because we had certain issues with some of the network connectivity, some of these absent voters were not printed, or the absent voter list was not printed or was empty. So we had a number of reports. So we had reports from the district that said, I have an absent voter list, but there's nothing in it. So we attended to some of these issues. We also had people who were wrongly placed on the multiples list. And then we had issues of people who were appearing on both the provisional voter register and the multiple list. You can only be on one list at a particular point in time. You can't be on both. So when I say you can't be on one list, the three major lists that we have, the valid voters register, exceptions list, and the multiples list. I can be on either one of them. You can't be on multiples of them. Okay. But for instance, you can be on the valid voter list and be on the absent voter list because you've transferred your votes. And at the same time, you will be on a transfer voter list because the polling station that you've transferred to will indicate that you've been transferred in. But no single person can be on any of those three lists at the same time. So that was an error that was corrected. And then we also had voters appearing with multiple IDs. Like I said, these were the instances where because of the network challenges that were experienced in the initial stages of the registration exercise, several submits were made for one voter, and therefore they appeared several times on the register. So we'll share with you some current voter statistics, and these are statistics as at yesterday. The total number of valid voters are 18,772,795, constituting females 9,690,173, males 9,082,622. First-time voters, these are voters that are classified to be between the ages of 18 and 21. We have 708,282. People who registered for special voting amounted to 131,474. And then we had transferred voters. The total number of voters who transferred their votes for the 2024 season were 332,110. People who had registered for proxy voting was 2,165. Number of applicants who are on our exceptions list now, and these are people who have either been challenged or have been objected to, amounts to 32,974. And the number of people who are on our multiples list, that is people who have done multiple registration, are 26,798. So you have more people on the exceptions list than you have people who have done multiple registrations. So quickly, we would like to address the issues that were raised by the NDC during the meeting with the Electoral Commission on the 6th of September 2024. 5 issues were raised by the National Democratic Congress during this meeting. And as Madam Chair said, during the meeting, we requested they had a presentation and they showed us the issues. And we requested that these issues be sent to us with the guarantee that within a week, we will investigate all the issues that have been submitted by the National Democratic Congress and give a report of our findings to them. Even though we knew that most of the issues that they had raised are issues that have already been dealt with, it was important that we see it is important that we address the issues that they have raised so that we assure them that there are issues that we've seen, we've addressed, and they are no longer issues. So we requested for information from them. Unfortunately, the information has not been forthcoming, and therefore it made it difficult for us to interrogate the issue, to assure them that the issues have been addressed. Be that as it may, we would like to take the issues that they brought one by one and address them. Fortunately for us, the presentations that they did for us is in the public domain, and therefore we are able to pick up some of the samples that they brought and use them to address the issues that they've raised. So the first issue that they had, which they labeled as observation number 1, was that we had deleted 3,957 voters from the register. Now, this deletion, they said, was due to transfers. In our minds, we can't see how you can delete somebody by transferring them, because transfers are allowed. So you can't delete somebody by transferring them. I also like to say that the way the voter management system is designed, and indeed ABIS, once you get registered onto the system, you cannot be deleted. You are there till eternity. You can only be on one of the 3 lists that I've already told you about: the valid voter list, the exceptions list, and the multiples list. You cannot go anywhere else. You don't get deleted. You are there. And so nobody can be deleted, and certainly nobody can be deleted by a transfer. Now, they gave an example, and this was a gentleman who they said had been deleted from the register, Mr. Ofori Ernest, and could not be found where he's supposed to be, and they gave evidence for it. Also, I'd like to say that we keep a record of every transfer that is done. And the record is very detailed, all the way down to the second that transfer was done. Who is involved? Where you were transferred to? Which people approved the transfer? So that record is there. No matter where you go, if we want to trace where you have been, we know exactly where you have been and who initiated that transfer. So if you look at the first allegation of the alleged deletion of voters from the 2024 register, as I have said, nobody gets deleted from the register. Once you are on the register, you're on those 3 lists. And we've already said that transfers are legitimate and permissible by law. The reference case that was given, that was said to have been deleted, is actually on the register and has been transferred to a new polling station, D040204. The name of the polling station is BAJHS Mite, which is in the Volta region. And this transfer occurred on the 14th of June 2024 at 3:21 p.m. So the record is there. It's not a doubt. It's verifiable. We went on further and looked at the transaction history of this particular voter within our database. He was enrolled on the 27th of July 2020 at 10:19 a.m. at the True Vine Preparatory School, JHS, New Boyman, with polling station number C150704. This gentleman, on the 22nd of October 2020, at 4:35 p.m., registered for special voting and was moved to the Achimota College Police Station, C1502 SPS. That is a special polling station that he registered for him to take part in special voting. On the 4th of January 2023, the system will do a reversal. Now, the reversal that the system does is because special voting is not permanent. And therefore, when we finish the election, the system will reverse you back to where originally you came from. And therefore, once again, this is not an illegality, but it's a system process that has been executed, right? And so, on the 14th of June, he himself decided that he was relocating and therefore transferred to DAJHS Mite. And it's a legal transfer. There are no qualms with it. Now, when you look into that same polling station, you see that that same individual is there. It's listed there as the polling station. He's not been deleted. He's where he's supposed to be. If you look at the register there too, there he is in the register. Once again, he's not deleted. He's there where he's supposed to. If you look at the transferred votes, you see there. He was transferred to from, and this is where originally he was. This says relocation, and this is the name of the individual. So once again, this is not a deletion, it is a transfer. And so you can't say that a voter has been deleted, right? And to prove that all, here is the actual form that the individual filled. And this is the actual hard record, paper record of the individual. He filled it, he signed it, that is his signature. So this person has not been deleted. This person has transferred. You can't say that somebody has transferred and therefore is deleted. It would have been good if we had all the other data, the 3,500 and 957, and I'm sure would have confirmed that all these things were correct and properly done. Unfortunately, we don't have it, so we can't speak to it. We can only speak to what we have available. But if indeed this is a sample, then it's fair enough for us to extend this and say that all the 3,957 so-called voters were not deleted and they are actually in the register and have probably done transfer by themselves. But let's carry on. Still, don't worry, you have access to it later. You have access to it later. Okay. So, same on observation 1. They also gave us 5 voter IDs that they claim had been deleted from the register. So fortunately, the voter IDs were there, so we could search for them. So that's exactly what we did. We searched for them. And so these are the alleged voter IDs. These people, we don't have a record of them having been transferred. And you know why we don't have a record of them having ever been transferred? Because in order for you to be transferred, you have to be a valid voter. If you are not a valid voter, remember the processes that I described to you. You have to go to the police, to their registration center, be verified biometrically before the transfer can occur. If you don't do that, the transfer doesn't occur. Okay? Now, these individuals that they listed as having been deleted by transfer, there's no record of a transfer for them. What we found out was that these individuals had corrupt biometrics, so they were never in the register in the first place. And therefore, how do they get transferred? So once again, it's weird that they will be said to have been illegally deleted by a transfer, when indeed they weren't even available for a transfer. And I'm sure that if we look at all the other IDs that were submitted, we'll probably come to the same conclusion. It will interest you to note that these corrupt biometrics actually came from the same kit. The kit number GN1297 was where the registration occurred. And it was an offline registration. Remember, I said offline registrations are prone to some of these problems. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, nobody has deleted anybody. These are issues that have arrived. And prior to this, we had a list of all the individuals who had corrupt biometrics. And the commission had taken a step right down to the district level and had committed resources to get people to go and find them. Fortunately, we had some of them, we had their telephone numbers, so we could call them and ask them to come for inclusion. And this is because their biometrics were corrupt. It's not that they've been deleted. It's a biometric register. If you don't have biometrics, you cannot be on it. So nobody has deleted anybody. So observation 2 says that 2,094 voters were transferred to different polling stations, but do not exist on the absent voter list. And examples were given. A case reference was given. The ID number of the voter was 224402410. Now, the person currently now is in the central region in Methodist Church, Ubunche. Pardon me, I may not get the spelling right. But transferred from Uti region, from Church of Pentecost, Chinderi. And we have the record of it. We've looked at the absent voter list that was submitted to the political parties, and indeed the absent voter list that was sent to the polling stations, and we can confirm that the absent voter list for that particular polling station was empty, and it was a correct observation. They had correctly picked up that there was an error, but we ourselves had already picked up that error, and a new list had been generated and sent to the various polling stations that were affected. Once again, remember that it is a process. We have systems, several systems querying the same databases. Sometimes errors occur in transit. And there are some of the errors that they've said that you see that there are data that is missing, but it's a human institution and errors occur. And so we are able to pick this up and fix those issues as they come. So I can confidently tell you that we have regenerated those registers and sent them back earlier on in the registration process. What you are seeing now is our register viewer, which gives us a panoramic view of everybody that is in the register. So we've zoomed down to this particular polling station, and the individual that they reference here now, as you can see, together with all the other people who should be on the absent voter list, are there. And this is evidence that the issues that were raised, notwithstanding the NDC reporting it, things that we detected ourselves have been fixed. And if you look at the current register as it stands now, you will see that a lot of the issues have been fixed. It's an evolving process that will culminate into a final voters register, and therefore we should allow the processes to work. Observation 3. which says that previously transferred illegally, previous transfers were illegally added to the 2024 transfers. I think that the Commission has already admitted to the fact that the transfers that were given, the transfer voter register that were given, contained much more than the numbers that were expected for the 2024 registration period. And I believe that Deputy Chair Dr. Bosman had even said this on the 2nd of September. It was inadvertently added, and what it did was that it added all the transactions, the transfers transactions that had occurred from 2020. So you had much more. And if you take a critical look at the transfer registers, you see certain narratives like reversal or special transfers, because they are all considered one transfer or the other, but there are different categories of them. In generating them, all the transfers were added, including those from 2020. So you had 2020 transfers, you had 2023 transfers, you had 2024 transfers that were added, including even special voting was also added to it. This, as was said by Dr. Bosman, had been detected and the error had been corrected. So the new voter register that you are going to get will contain only transfers that were done for the 2024 season. Be that as it may, because of the uproar that was associated with it, the Commission then went a step further and did further auditing of the transfer register. Basically what was done was we asked all the paper records of transfers that were done to be reconciled against what was in the district viewer, so that we are sure that one for one, if you did do a transfer, you are in there. Obviously, we did encounter some problems in the sense that sometimes the transfers were not complete, once again because of the network errors that we encountered. But those ones during the exhibition period, they were corrected. So it was a good exercise that was taken to ensure that those who had transferred their votes indeed will be where they are supposed to be on election day. Having also said that, we've also ensured that all the transfers that were done are legitimate and they are accurate. And so the absent voters list and the transfer voters list for the 2024 period will only contain those that were done for the 2024 period. Now we come to Pusiga, and I'm sure for those of us who have been listening to the news, we are aware that there are issues with transfers that occurred at Pusiga. These were reported to us by the regional director that 38 voters had been illegally transferred from Pusiga. And as I have said, this occurred because the Electoral Commission's own staff took advantage of a vulnerability that was in the system. And that vulnerability was the absence of a liveliness check. And so, him, as the narrative goes, in collusion with some other people, used the voter ID card, the picture on the voter ID card, to verify the individuals and do a transfer. Be that as it may, because our systems work, we were able to verify that indeed spoofing had occurred. And we've been able to pick up and confirm that indeed all the 38 people that were involved, whose transfers were done through this method. What have we done, having seen this discovery? The first step that we did was to ensure that we plug that vulnerability. Fortunately, the technology has now matured such that it can be deployed into production use. So now we have made sure that facial verification now has a liveliness check put in place. We didn't stop there. We've also now implemented the liveliness check on our voter verification devices, our biometric verification devices. So on voting day, you can't take somebody's picture, use the BVD, to do a verification, because now that is firmly built into the BVD as well. So we have plugged that hole. Subsequent to that, all those transfers that have been done have been reversed. So all those transfers that were done illegally have been reversed, and the perpetrators have been dismissed by the commission, and the police continues their investigation into the matter. We have not taken this matter lightly, and yes, so we have not taken this matter lightly at all, because once again, if it's happened somewhere, it is possible that it has happened elsewhere, and therefore we've engaged our service providers, and we are developing tools once again that would go through the system thoroughly to check and be sure that the same nefarious act has not been committed again. And by the end of the week, that report would be ready. But rest assured, the commission is not taking this thing lightly at all. And we are making sure that we are making the systems better. There is no system in this world that is foolproof. For those of you who use even applications like Microsoft Office or even Microsoft Windows, periodically updates are issued. Why are updates issued? Updates are issued because it's supposed to block a vulnerability, or it's supposed to fix a problem. And we as a commission, we are not static. We are constantly evolving, and we are hypercritical of ourselves. So we are looking at ways of improving the systems that we have built, both with our service providers and our software vendors. So rest assured, this issue is being given the best attention that it can get. Observation 4 says that about 15,000 unidentified transfer paths. Once again, we are not clear what is meant by an unidentified transfer path, because all the transfers are documented, and it is not the commission's business to understand why somebody wants to transfer their vote, for so long as they are doing it in the proper way. So we do not understand what is meant by unidentified transfer path. But be it as it may, we went ahead and looked at the samples that they have given us. So in their presentation, there were 4 ID cards that were listed as people who did transfers, and there was no clear identified path for the transfer. We looked at them, and we can confirm that these ID cards, these ID numbers that they said there was no clear identified path, had all done registrations or transfers as the time that we have listed there, and from what police station to the other. So these were legitimate transfers that were done. So we do not really understand what they mean by you can't identify the pathway of the transfer. So I will take one of them as a reference and show to you that indeed, if we want to identify the pathway that they undertook to get to where they are now, we can. So this is for voter with voter ID 4728026669. You bear with me that this is the picture. This is one of the pictures that has been listed as having an unidentified pathway. Now, as I've said, we record every transfer. Every transfer that is done is recorded, and it's recorded on 2 systems. It's recorded on our automatic biometric identification system, and it's recorded on the voter management system. So we have 2 records to compare at any point in time to confirm that a transfer was actually done. And in ABIS, we actually keep a picture, if it's a picture that you are using for the transfer, a picture that was taken at the time that the transfer was done to confirm, and that is what is used to do the one-to-one matching. So if you look, this is the picture of the voter on the card, same picture here, and this is the picture that we have on record. Down here, you have the fingerprint of the individual. If the individual had used their fingerprint for verification, here you will have the verification listed here. together with the score, the hit score, to show that it is indeed the person. And here is the picture of the individual that did the transfer. So this transfer was not done in a vacuum. It was done by an individual, and there's evidence to show that indeed she presented herself to do that transfer. So the path is there. So we do not understand what is meant by there's no clear or there are unidentified paths towards a transfer. To give you further evidence, this is the transaction from our automated biometric identification system that gives you the details of everything that was done, right down to the second that verification for transfer was executed. And once again, this data is available for verification. And I assure you, all the 330,000 something who did transfers, we have all their records available in our system for verification. Now, we go to the hard copy itself. And for this, I've put two of them here. So this is the individual, and this shows them. This is their voter ID card. This is where they are. This is the actual hard paper form that they completed for the transfer, together with their thumbprints and their signature, together with the officer who did the transfer. So there's nothing like unidentified transfer path. We know who you are, where you are, how you did the transfer, and where you are now. And we have both paper evidence and electronic evidence to support it. So it cannot be said that there's no identified pathway for the transfer. And so we've got 15,000 plus people who are affected. This is another individual from the previous pictures that I've shown to you. And this is the evidence that shows that that individual actually did the transfer. We move on to observation 5. And observation 5 says that there was 168 corrupt files. That indeed is true. It did happen. There were some of the files that were given in the provisional voters register that were not (1,685 corrupt files. And I'm saying that that observation indeed is accurate. We did have some correct files. As to whether it was 168, we are not sure. But we did have some corrupt files. And once again, these corrupt files came as a result of network interruptions that occurred during the production of those registers. These, as I've said, were promptly picked up by the commission staff. Because remember that at level 1, which is the hard inspection of the registers, hand, page by page, these things were detected and were reported to the commission, and immediately new ones were generated and sent back to the political parties. We, as I've said, we know for sure that there are electronic systems we are working with. They are not foolproof. Sometimes errors happen. So we've made it sure that on election day, this will not happen. What have we done? We have now generated additional tools that quality check all the outputs that come out of the register to ensure that they contain contents. And we are doing it at 3 different levels. At generation, and then we have 2 independent systems that are checking the registers as they are produced to be sure that they contain data. Any one that doesn't contain data is immediately flagged and will be regenerated. Having said that too, we also have the manual process of checking that will happen both at the commission before it goes to the printers and as the printers themselves as they are being printed, to ensure that we don't have these issues coming up. And so rest assured, come December 7th, the registers that will be sent to the polling stations will not have these issues in them. The last issue that was brought up was that there was an allegation, or let me not say an allegation, that the NDC had said that they had identified 50,000 dead people on the register. It is important to note that there are processes governed by law that prescribes how to deal with these issues. And the Electoral Commission on its own cannot go and start deleting people from the register just because it's been said that the person is dead. It will interest you to note that during the exhibition exercises, certain individuals who had been objected to because they said they were dead actually showed up with their voter card in person. So it is not, we shouldn't take this lightly. Yes, if people are dead, there are processes that have been prescribed that allows us to remove them from the register, and those processes must be followed. And indeed, the Commission in Thinking Forward has since 2023 been collaborating with the Births and Deaths Registry to put in place a system that will aid it to proactively tackle some of these issues. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do this to completion, but that is something that is being worked upon. But I think that at the meeting, what Madam Chair said to the NDC was that if they had the evidence, they should bring it. It will be sent to electoral services. Electoral services has the mechanism to initiate some of these processes to see if indeed the people are dead or not. Unfortunately, even though we're given assurances that the names were coming, we never got it. And so nothing has been done about it, and rightly so, ladies and gentlemen. So that is with the issues that were raised by the National Democratic Congress. And as you can see, these are issues that have been dealt with. Some of them indeed are non-issues, but some of them were legitimate issues that were raised, and fortunately had already been addressed or were addressed subsequently. Quickly, we'll look at some of the other issues that we identified during the process. This one I've already spoken about, the missing voter IDs. So you see an individual who has a valid voter ID card, but we can't find in our system. So this is a search for eligibility. It says he can't find a person in the system. So obviously this person is a missing voter, and the Commission has committed enough resources to go out there and find those individuals, and through a process described as inclusion, add them to the register. We have been successful largely, but for those that we've not been able to identify, we will be put on a list referred to as the missing voter list. Now these people, we will have their Form 1A and their Form 1C at the polling stations on election day, and if they do show up, we will use that to confirm that the voter card that they have is actually valid, and then they will be allowed to vote. So that list will be made available at the end of the processes that we are currently undertaking. So all that will be made available. But just for statistics, in actual fact, the missing voter list affected 13 regions. For Ahafo, Central and Western North, we have not had any complaints of anybody missing. So these are the voter lists. It is stopped by the Northern region, followed by Western, Greater Accra, Oti, Volta, Upper West, Northwest, Bono, Savannah, Upper East, Eastern Ashanti, and the Bono East that have 1-1. The other things that we had was we had issues of people with different voter IDs. Now, as I've already said, sometimes you have people who register and they are missing, and then you go and register again. When it happens like that, they have different IDs and the system will track them. So for those individuals, once we find out that that has happened, we then replace the ID that they have, the last ID that they have. Otherwise, if they are holding another ID, they may assume that they are not on the register, when in actual fact, they exist on the register with a different voter ID. Accidental duplicates I've already mentioned about, so we had quite a number of them as well, which was fixed. So if you look here in our system, this is the active record of the person. So the person was moved off the multiples list and put onto the actual list. I've already said that we had issues of people who are appearing both on the provisional voter register and on the multiples list, when in actual fact they should be on the multiples list. And so that has been rectified as well. Last but not the least,
is errors in the names of individuals. During registration, unfortunately, sometimes at the point of entry data, the data entry clerks will put in unusual characters. Like, for instance, for this particular voter, I believe this is her birth date, but actually had been inputted in her other name section. You see other instances of funny characters being put in there, right? We were able to query our database and come up with all those who had that affliction. And indeed, we came up with 7,538. There was an active move to try and get these voters to come and have these errors corrected. Unfortunately, not all of them showed up. One of the issues that can potentially be a source of anxiety for a voter is when you appear on voting day and you can't find your name. And you can't find your name, not that you are not in the register, but your name, instead of an O, is a 0. So for instance, if you look at this particular polling station, which is in Karachi East, all the names that start are actually supposed to be a 0, but have been replaced, supposed to be an O, but have been replaced with a 0. And remember that your voter list is arranged in alphabetical order. So when a 0 appears first, it will be on top of the list. But if the election official is not aware of this and goes to look for your name at O, they may not find you there and say that you are absent from the voter register. And that might cause some anxiety. So this issue we can fix. But I think that it is something that has come up for discussion. And as stakeholders, we need to find out if this is something that the commission can on its own go ahead and fix, because it's an easy fix. You can easily, for instance, look at all the zeros that are in people's names and then convert them to an O. And that largely should fix the majority of the problems. For some of them, it might be a little bit more difficult. But at least if you are able to fix the zeros, the rest that are left, we will take our time and fix it. Having said that, it doesn't stop anybody from voting. Because remember that your ability to vote is by biometric verification. And the biometric verification does not know your name, does not know your age, does not know your date of birth. But it is essential that some of these errors are corrected so that it gives more credibility to the register that we have. So in conclusion, we have demonstrated to you that the Electoral Commission of Ghana has in place a tried and tested process to produce a credible register that ensures a free, fair, and transparent election. As has already been said, these are processes that have been used since 2020. In fact, in 2020, we produced a register under more dire conditions. We produced a register in 36 days in a COVID pandemic. And so we have learned a lot from that process. And it's the same processes that we are employing for the generation of this register. So like Madam Chair said, trust us to be able to deliver on a register that you will all be proud of. A register that does not disenfranchise anybody. The exhibition of the provisional voter register is indeed an audit on its own, and it involves all stakeholders, from political parties to voters to civil society organizations, and indeed the staff of the electoral commissions. The anomalies that have been identified have today been largely fixed, and we are waiting for the processes that are ongoing to be able to produce a final voter register. Once that work is complete, the hard work that over the last few weeks the Electoral Commission has been engaged in, we will be able to share at no additional cost to our stakeholders the ability for them to check the voter register electronically and allow for any changes to be made. I'd like to end by saying that the register that we have all strived hard to correct. Currently, as it stands now, it's as cleanest as it will ever get, and it is robust, and it is ready for the 2020 election. Thank you very much, and I bring my presentation to an end.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yao Furi Ejay. Before we open the floor for comments, I would like to rehash our ground rules. Like I said, political parties were given the opportunity to have 3 representatives in this auditorium. And as you may know, such IPAC meeting is strictly an engagement between the Electoral Commission and registered political parties. That doesn't mean that the Electoral Commission doesn't value the views of CSOs and other invited entities or guests. Actually, your independent views and concerns could be put or presented to the Electoral Commission in writing or at a meeting at the request of the CSO or the organization. Please, we should be reminded that this program is being carried live on all the major TV and radio stations. We are going to give a maximum of 1 to 4 minutes for each political party to express views on the presentation made by the IT department. Please, we should avoid repetition of comments, interjections, banters. Let's respect each other in terms of what we're going to say. Please be informed that if you want to go to the washroom is right behind us, so you can visit the washroom if you want to. At this point, we'd like to open the floor. We'd like to open the floor. Please, we want to see by hands those who want to, yes. NDP, Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong. We have CPP. We have GFP, Madam Ikuadonko. Any other? PPP, GUM. Okay, so let's go the first round of questions. We'll take 5. And then it could be comments, it could be views, right? So we start with the NDP. Please give it to me.
Yeah, the name is Kofi Akpalu, the leader and founder of the Liberal Party, LPG. We are here for a simple reason. We have been invited here by the AC because NDC presented something. So after this delivery, we are expecting the NDC to respond before we can all comment, because that should be the norm. We cannot just, what are we going to say? Let us hear from the NDC what they have, and then we continue from there. Exactly. Thank you. So go and give it.
Well noted, but I think we are working with time. If you have a view or comments, please allow NDP. Please give the mic to NDP.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair, colleague party reps, ladies and gentlemen. My position in the opening of the chair's remarks is the fact that henceforth we are going to allow the media to be taking part, in the proceedings of the IPAC. It is a very important development that is going to reduce the running around and engaging with what I call the gullible public. Now, the provisional voters register to the certified voters register. Within that space are clear regulations. And I'm satisfied that at least the IT department had come today to give what I call the underlying IT management of the process. That is very, very important. And for that matter, we definitely, we want to find out that your engagement with the NDC, did they look first at the regulations that were stated and then the underlying IT management of their presentations of their observations? That is what we want to find out. Thank you very much.
Please, we give the mic to GUM, and then we come to PPP before we come to CPP and GFP. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. I personally am very pleased with the presentation of the Electoral Commission. Maybe we are yet to hear from our brothers of the NDC to know if they have extra or different issues from what we've heard so far. The paramount decision we as politicians need to take is to decomb our individual political desires from that of our nation, Ghana. Every political party has the dream to winning power, but the ultimate dream must be the fairness, the well-being, and the development of our motherland. From the presentation so far, as I earlier indicated, I think the EC has done a great job. We are praying not to encounter any pandemonium after the 2024 elections, before, during, and after. And from their presentation, as humans as we are, sometimes minor errors are bound to happen. But from the presentation, if the issues raised are all that the EC spoke about, then I think the EC has done a good job and we need to recommend them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll listen to PPP. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a few questions and perhaps a comment. The first one is that Dr. Ofori. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so my first question is, at the latter part of your presentation, you spoke about missing voter lists and indicated that if they are not found in the register, their primary source of registration document will be made available so that on the day of voting they can be allowed to vote. But you did not tell us what is the cause. I mean, how are we able to arrive at that situation where we have some missing voter list? If you could explain the cause, then we can find a solution to it, because we cannot keep on having these things reoccurring. And then my second question is on the issue of voter transfer. At what point in time does the Electoral Commission print a new ID card for someone who has applied to transfer? I'm asking this question in relation also to the fact that usually when they are challenged, it goes to the district court for a resolution before a determination will be made whether they should be at the transferred location or they should be returned back to where they were voting before they come. And then this is a comment actually. Again, I quote you. You said, if it has happened somewhere, it is possible it will happen elsewhere in relation to the Pusiga matter. So my question to the chairperson and the entire Electoral Commission is that, is there any law that makes it illegal for the independent audit to be made? If there is none, then my submission is that I feel that an independent audit will rather boost the credibility and image of the voter register. Because just imagine if an independent auditor comes and says, well, the register is 100% clean. That one, it is not the EC saying it. Because what Dr. Ufori said, I mean, the presentation is nice, but it is the EC speaking. So now that there are issues of mistrust and all that has happened, if an independent person comes and confirms that it is clean, I think it will boost the credibility and the trust that we all have. So that is a comment I want you to consider as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, we would like to know your names. So when you stand, you want to ask question or comment, please mention your name so that we know the person who is speaking. Yes, CPP.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, the EC, for this opportunity. You remember Moses Ambing, Coordinator, Organizational Committee, CPP. We in the Convention People's Party will have to commend the EC for it has made this to meet the table. For us, we all got very alarmed when we heard our brothers and sisters from the NDC. Yes, thank you. We all got very alarmed when we heard the NDC coming out with all these figures. And the figures, in our view, were so huge. But quickly, we realized that the CI already has a self-cleansing mechanism embedded in it. And that mechanism, when you go through the mechanism, you realize that it becomes then very difficult that errors will not be corrected at the provisional stage. So after the giving out of the register at the exhibition, we assume that all these errors are supposed to be corrected. And when you go through the proceedings from CI 25 to 27, it is explicit there how these errors can be detected and corrected. And I'm happy, just last week, 24th of September, in Kumasi, a district court has ordered the EC to expunge about 1,000 transfers from Inshia South. And I believe that this is the way to go, because this process is really embedded in the CI. Where you go to the district review committee, it goes to the district court. So the procedures are very clear. And I'm happy that a district court in Kumasi has done this. And I know many more to follow where there are issues, there are procedures to address them. I must also admit the frankness of the EC. Where you got it wrong, you admitted that you were wrong. And you did your checks and you have corrected it. This is what we want to see. As major stakeholders, we are happy when the election body admits its faults. That yes, when it comes to issue AOB, we had some errors and we have corrected them. We in the Convention People's Party are very glad. Now, we in the CPP are also saying that we are confident of the process thus far, and we hope that all the corrections as stated here will be done before the register is given back to us, the political parties. The EC chair spoke about a re-exhibition online. I believe the only challenge we have as a party is that we've realized that people do not really patronize this exhibition exercises. And if it's online, we know in our country, our rural folks, I don't know how they can use this short code to check or even go on online portals to check for their names. So I believe that in that regard, as stakeholders, let's find a mechanism of doing better. How do we get every ordinary Ghanaian involved in this re-exhibition process? I believe when that is done, we'll have a very clean register that we all will be proud of come December 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We go to Madam Adonko, GFP, before we do you.
Easy, mammy, any papa no penny for a moisha. Medenya me as some baby, yeah. Yen I am a banner no some no, or yen I had see. Medenya me as said, or bet na so. Fidia man for sumono. And this is for the papa. nanso so wɔbɛde ne kɔɔ court bere a no wɔbɛtwerɛ edini ɛde ne kɔɔ court nanso wɔn anim gu aseɛ ka wɔn ne nyinaa akyi no yasa abɛtwerɛ edini me a mete wɔ yɛ a mekasa yi isi ka sɛ obiara fa ne nipa ɛmɛtena table no ho baabi a yɛtwerɛ edini obiara fa ne nipa mmra na yɛhunu sɛ yɛbɛtwerɛ no obiara ntumi anka ho asɛm mede me nipa kɔɔ yi baabi a mɛsɛ mede me nipa kɔ bi ne nyinaa akyi no yɛatwerɛ edini ne kama wɔde buku a yɛde challenge nyinaa ka ho de pɛn ka ho so obi a wɔnya mfie du nwɔtwe yɛntwerɛ obi a wɔnya Ghana ni yɛntwerɛ adɛ na mo ha nipa ɛsa wɔnim sɛ nyame na de ne baeɛ onyankopɔn yɛde ne baeɛ o moyɛ da yi mɔboa mebɔ mpa yɛ sɛ nyankopɔn nsa nta n'akyi kwan bia so wɔnyina fintii wɔyɛ ɔbaa soronko wɔyɛ nipa soronko meboa aba so mpere wɔ ha yi ne mpanimfoɔ wo ne ɔpanimfoɔ mebɔ mo aba so adɛ na motete ne saa mede menka ntintim bɛhwɛ mo se nipa aduonum asɛsɛe yɛ wuwe wɔ adeɛ no mo yiye sɛ bɛhwɛ mɔboa adɛ na motwa ntoro saa mo se wɔkyerɛ baabi a yɛ a ade no adɛ na mote saa adɛ mo nko a yɛtwitwerɛ diri asɛi kukuom na makɔtwitwio ɛno na nkyɛn yɛnsa mmra kekos na ɔsa akɔtwe dadeɛ akɔbɔ mpififoɔ bɛbɔ baba so ate sɛ mo ankasa na mo asa akɔtwitwi aba dadeɛ mpo mo de akɔbɔ n'akyi wo sɛ afiri hɔ ba ka soa wo mma kotokuro so sekan twitwa nipa ɛdeɛ na mɔyɛ ɔma wiase mo de kwai ɔma no mo de mo me nya so ne nya adwo papa ne fa twia ba abɛyɛ a yɛbɛtwi ɛyɛ fan ɛfiri so ɔba yɛ bibia kama bɔne bia ba mu ayɛ na mo yɛ saa mo kura mo ani mo bɛɛ nyina akyi no mo ani mo bia sia ka ɛnyɛ no ɛda mo ase.
Please, I would like to just try and then translate what Madam Ipiadonko said. I'll paraphrase. Okay. Let me say, it seems like she said certain things that respectfully, I think she has to withdraw that. And I think on behalf of the Electoral Commission, I think some of those words, I think didn't sound well. Thank you very much. Now we go to PNC. Please, we'll come to you. NDC will come to you. PNC.
Thank you very much, my brother. My name is Samson Asake Awingobit. I'm the National Chairman for People National Convention Party. People National Convention for short. First and foremost, I want to use this opportunity to thank Madam Chair and your board members or your deputy commissioners for giving us the opportunity to take part. This is my first time in IPAC meeting to take part in this very important thing. And to recommend you and your team for accepting the call that this IPAC meeting should be televised for all the over 30-something million Ghanaians to see the truth of it, so that you have nothing to hide in your cobwebs. And so you have done it, and you've said, going forward, additional IPAC meetings, you are assuring Ghanaians and all of us sitting here that they will be televised for everybody to see what is happening. Your key word is transparency, fairness, is that not it? And so that is what we are all looking for. Let me also use this opportunity to also recommend the NDC for pushing for this, because one of their calls was they want to see this IPAC meeting televised so that everybody will see. And I'm happy that your IT manager was able to take steps to explain what you have done, get back to the 5 petitions, 5 reasons that the NDC brought before you, things that they have worked on, and then going forward, what you want to do for this country. All of us collectively want to see a credible, free and fair, credible election comes December 7th. And that is what we are working towards. I'm happy that you said it's a process. It's not just one day event. And we admitted where there are errors, and your IT manager, Dr. Yao Ofori, also agreed that they are working in the human institutions, and that could happen. I am sitting here as the national chair of my party, but I am saddened that it was the same errors and omissions that made you to disqualify my party presidential candidate. And so if you accept that EC is minded by human beings, and human beings are bound to make errors, then we are also coming from the earth, not from the planet. And so I want all the 30 million Ghanaians who are watching us to see to it that PNC are also human beings, human institutions, and we are bound to make errors. And madam, I'm pleading with you that as we are recommending you for the good job that you are doing today for Mother Ghana, this is for Mother Ghana, and you said Ghana is for all of us. Please, then don't disqualify us because we are human beings. That is my appeal to you, my personal appeal to you and your commissioners.
PSC, yes, your point well taken.
Please,
thank you very much.
No, sorry. I think you've allotted 1 to 4 minutes, isn't it? I'm not sure I've gotten to there.
You are almost.
Yes, I'm almost. Thank you very much. Yes. So you are interjecting, isn't it? You said there's no interjections. So, Madam Chair, and your deputies, I think if I walk out, I will now walk out with broad chest and say the EC has opened for transparency. I know our brothers from the MPP and NDC will also speak to their issues, but this engagement alone will really bring confidence to the institution, will really show that you and your team has agreed to over 30 million calls. Those, if you have done this meeting without television, without radio, Ghanaians wouldn't have known whether who is speaking the truth and who is not speaking the truth. I therefore, on behalf of my party, we are very grateful for this opportunity given to us. And once again, include us in the 2024 general election because we are also human beings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We would like to pause here. Doc, would you like to respond to some of the few issues before we take the second round of questions? Doc, there is a mic there, so I think you can stand there or sit down and then address the issue.
Good morning once again. So I'm addressing 2 issues that were brought up by the PPP. The first one was the missing voters. What was the cause? So if you recall, during my presentation, I said that meeting voters come about as a result of 2 reasons. The first one being the fact that they may have corrupt biometrics. And our voter register is a biometric voter register. So if we don't have biometrics for you, you cannot be on the biometric voter register. We, however, have a record of you, except that your biometrics are corrupt. And that is how we are able to find you. So that is how we are able to find you and then say that you are missing. But in your instance, it's a question of re-registering you because your biometrics are corrupt. The other instance occurs mainly with the offline registration, where a kit may get damaged or a kit may stop working, or the data that is on the kit may get corrupt in transit. So for the offline registration, first the registration data is stored on the kit. It is sent on USB drives to the district offices. From the district offices, it is uploaded to the data center in an HQ. So along that pathway, sometimes data gets corrupt, right? And so people come up as missing. And that is how the missing voter comes about. The other question you asked was, at which point is a person given a voter ID card, a new voter ID card, during the transfer? Immediately the transfer goes through, a voter ID card is issued. I hope that answers your question. What happens? So when a reversal is done, a new ID card is printed and they have to pick it up. Okay, so Deputy Chair has prompted me to go over the automatic biometric identification system. So let me just take the opportunity and do that. So we've got the ABIS. The ABIS is what we use for verification of individuals and also for registration. So imagine that we are starting the system afresh. There's no record in it. The first person who gets registered, we will store what we call a template of their face and their 10 fingerprints. The next person who gets registered will be checked against what is there. And all 10 fingerprints will be checked against all 10 fingerprints individually. So if you remember maths, it's probably 10 combination 10. It does all that together with the pictures. And we'll do it for every successive registration that goes through. The moment it picks up a duplicate or there's a match, it flags it. And then we'll move it into another system, so to speak, for it to be analyzed. So that's how ABIS works. And then we've got the voter management system. The voter management system communicates with ABIS. So the first registration from the registration devices and all that comes through the voter management system. Voter management system then takes that data and presents it to ABIS. ABIS works on it and then retains it together with its decisions. So in a way, we actually have a lot of redundant data in our system, so that if there are any issues anywhere, we can compare and contrast and find out what it is. But the primary role for ABIS is to do the deduplication, do the identification and verification of voters using their fingerprints.
Thank you very much, representative from the PPP, and thank you for your question about the forensic audit. I believe that you are well aware that CI 91, as amended by CI 126, identifies clear legal pathways for the cleaning of the provisional voters register. And during my presentation, I outlined a number of these processes, including the work by the magistrates, the DRROs, the authentication, amongst others. And so as a commission, we believe that the legal processes outlined by law, including the administrative processes that are age-old, they do work. As you saw from my presentation, we have not exhausted the legal processes or the administrative processes. They are ongoing, and so we have not arrived at that place yet. They are still ongoing. It's important to note, as we have emphasized, that the exhibition itself is a self-auditing process. It allows us to audit, to go and verify details on the register, and if we have problems, we identify them and inform the commission to fix it. So these processes are inbuilt within the law, within the CI 91 as amended by CI 126. We are carrying them through. We have not sidestepped them and we have not ignored them. They are ongoing. And we believe that it will bring us to a final register that is credible and robust. The good news is that we have agreed as a commission to provide you and the citizenry with a revised provisional register. And this would allow you to review it to ensure that all the issues that you had with it have indeed been fixed. So we believe that you should allow the process to work. Let us allow our laws to work. We are implementing the processes and we are confident that it will bring us to a credible and robust register ahead of the 2024 election. Thank you.
Now we take the next set of questions. NDC, can we give the mic to NDC? Any other? Please, NDC, hold on. Any other? GUM, LPG, and then NPP. So APC. Okay. So NDC, please. Doctor, please introduce yourself, and then you ask or you comment. Thank you.
My name is Kofi Omanebuama, Director for Elections and IT, NDC.
think that the ground rule must be modified. Obviously, no other political party was seen during the PowerPoint presentation being responded to. So it is obvious we have done a good job, and that is why today you are all here to help deepen our democracy. This said, very obviously, 1 to 4 minutes for all other political parties will certainly not be enough for the NDC. Thank you. When your roof is leaking, you can decide to mop, keep mopping, and keep mopping. Or you can decide to fix the leakage and mop. What we see here is mopping and mopping and mopping. Fixing the leakage is missing. And this is at the heart of our altruistic demand for a forensic audit. This forensic audit is not just about the register. When you have fixed the register, and I will demonstrate to you how, as a result of our revelations, some aftermath fixing is providing a semblance of we are fixing it. When you fix it, and we all look at the hard copies, and we are all given the PVR, the soft copies. In November, if the very criminals that got us here are still there, engaged in illegal transfers, we will come back to square one. And that time, it will be too close to the December 7 elections. This is why we are saying we need to adopt a dichotomous approach. Look at the register, fix the issues in there, and also audit the very IT systems that allowed these anomalies to occur. We have heard, and Madam Chair spoke about the fact that we certainly do not require external assistance. I've also heard some EC officials question the legality. We have CI 91 as amended by CI 126. We also have CI 127. Okay? A suggestion is being made that on December 7, we are likely to see missing voters list at the polling stations. Is that not the case? Is that not what we've been told here? About 1,551 voters are likely to be captured on a list that will be called missing voters list. Is that not it? I'm here to identify which of these laws has missing voters list. But you see, it's a reasonable remedy for the problem that we are dealing with. And so when you have to go beyond these in a way that it will not hurt but help our democratic process, you need to give it greater consideration. I come also to the point of adjudication, and we saw some very huge figures in the presentation. Are these figures emanating from the very adjudication meetings that NDC participated in? Because to the best of our knowledge, the meetings that we participated in, we did not treat these figures in tens of thousands, about 20-something thousand. So once again, it will be important for a forensic audit to identify where these over 20,000 figures are coming from. Because the report that we have does not support that. We come to the issue of proxy. We are being told proxy, 2,167. Great. But we also know people successfully filed for proxy without going through biometrics. As we speak, which of these 2,167 people went through biometrics and which of them did not go through biometrics? It is going to take maybe a follow-up question. EC may tell us maybe 1,000, maybe 900. How do we verify that? This is a matter that we have raised at IPAC before. For those of you who were at IPAC, this proxy and some people not going through biometrics, we've raised it at IPAC before. Again, we come to the issue of Pusiga. Just like COVID-19, when some people were trying to call it a certain country's disease. Perhaps we should not be calling those criminal transfers Pusiga transfers. And it will take a forensic audit of the EC's IT system to know where those transfers took place. And because I do not have the answers on this Pusiga matter, I want to ask some few questions. One, the login credentials given to your district directors, the passwords, can they modify it so that it will become unique to them? Example, if you are given a bank card, your bank will give you an initial password, and because they don't want anybody to have access to your password, will give you the opportunity for you to change that password of your bank card. In the case that we are dealing with, the district officers, the passwords that they are giving or the login credentials that they are giving, are they said that other people can have access to them? And so when you have said criminal transfers taking place, the only way out is to check the digital footprints of such transfers instead of just looking at the geographic location where the transfers ended and say that that is where it took place, so that officer or officers are the people who are culpable. If others can have access to those login credentials, then it is important that a forensic audit establishes exactly the footprints of where these transfers took place. Still on Pusiga, are we being told here that 4 years ago, 2020, there wasn't technology across the globe to be checking biometrics with the face? Is that what we are being told by the Electoral Commission? Is that what we spend the taxpayers' money on in the year 2020? Contrary to all the advocacy by Imani, Ghana, and the rest. Is that what we are being told? That this liveliness test could only be activated after the revelation of Pusiga, and there is evidence that it was only activated during the exhibition process. The Director for Electoral Services eloquently captured this on the TV3 program one Saturday morning. I have the video clip. Doc, please, right can you round up? Because you've gone beyond the 4 minutes that we gave you. Can you pause so that maybe we go to another set of questions, rounds? Again, I've heard the word assurance, reassure many times. When assurance is given, the assurance is treated with value judgment, and that value judgment is hinged on reliability and credibility. We have had palpable experience on different occasions with the Electoral Commission that obviously demonstrate that we must rebuild that trust in order for us to accept assurances. And the evidence is obvious. Basic arithmetic errors during limited voter registration exercise. Basic. And here we are talking about auditing IT system. These same IT people were those who were using CorelDRAW to be working arithmetic. We also experienced 2020 declaration of the presidential results. Declared, corrected again. Assurance is built on trust. That trust is broken. Again, we've all been to the corporate office and the headquarters of the Electoral Commission before. We see the police and the military protection, even for officers. How BVR laptops could be stolen under CCTV surveillance, military and police protection, damages our trust. We are also dealing with the number of times that we were expecting the PVR to be released to us. A letter written, and we were glad to have received it from the Electoral Commission in July, all the way through July, up to August. Zilch. August 14, nothing happens. August 16, nada. Until 19th of August. Those series of assurances, expectations that were broken, hurt and damage our trust. So when the assurances are given, we treat the assurances with value judgment that is emanating from these trust issues that have been broken. We are here looking at the evidence that we presented, and we are glad that the EC has accepted 3 out of 5. And where they don't even accept, they try to explain. And that is one of the reasons it is not strategic to provide the Electoral Commission with a full gamut of what we have. And I will explain. And Esofori, the day at the EC corporate office, why were we not told that Esofori had effected a transfer and all the details that we are being given? It is possible all these are true. I do not doubt them. Hear me clearly. It is possible. But you see, when you provide political parties with the provisional voters register, you expect our analysis to be based on the data that we have been given. You do not expect our analysis to be based on any extraneous material. If there are researchers here, they must understand exactly what I'm saying. So, the PVR that we were provided with, if you analyze them, would you have arrived at the same conclusion? The answer is yes. So even there, as you try to rationalize after having the information, what you forget is that you are assembling what you did not provide political parties with to rationalize. This is why, because of the coefficient of bias, which is very, very high in this case, there is the need for a forensic audit of not just the register, which is being fixed. Why not? And I commend the EC. The EC says that after they have fixed all, and I thought per the submissions of the EC on air, we have heard several times, they had already corrected all the things. Go online. You find that the NDC issues have been fixed. But we do admit, we don't want to be linguistic purists. we do admit that maybe it was an exaggeration. As they fix them, they have promised to provide the updated version. We came here with a hard drive. If the updated version is already, why not? We will pick it and still analyze, take it through the very analysis that we did. But that is only about the register. That is only about mopping the floor. It doesn't fix the leakage. That is why our demand is in two folds. Forensic audit of the register and forensic audit of the IT system of the Electoral Commission. Yaira has a very simple question for Dr. Yaufurieji. Then we end our case for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. And thank you, Madam Chair. First, Dr. Ofori, you made mention about the ABIS, that is Automated Biometric Identification System. Initially here, you said that it is only when it detects double registration that it moves to adjudication, if I'm correct. Unfortunately, you came back to say that now all ABIS moves adjudication, all double registration moves to adjudication. So I think that is the correct one that you just said lately. Now, in terms of the transfers, when you talk about the liveliness detection, from what you said, it was detected during the the exhibition exercise when we alerted it about based on the procedural issues. Now, the question that I want to ask is, what measures did you take as a commission to correct all this? I heard you saying that all those who did facial transfers have been reversed. What if somebody did a legitimate transfer? And on what algorithm did you use to effect those reversal? Now, the other thing that I want to ask has to do with you said there was a network issues in generating the register, and that caused some of the data to be corrupt. Now, the question is, do you generate your data from your central database system or from the district? Because what I know is that your liveliness system, in terms of the online registration, when you click on it, it hits your central system to detect whether somebody is doing multiple registration or not. Now, as you stated clearly, in data migration or transfer, there is no way a data can be altered. The likelihood of what will happen is a missing of data. Now, we have a situation whereby a voter's ID number is being given to a different person. If you have your system here, I think that one I can give it to you for us to check correctly. Then there's another way where the data is being given to, when you search, the person's data is not in at all. You have to just go through by searching using the person's name. So those are the few questions I'll ask now. Once you ask, there will be a follow-up questions on those things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Last part.
No, please. We've given you more than 9 minutes. So please, can we go to another? Come back.
Okay.
So please. Thank you very much. Boom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Frank Osu Frempong, the National Communication Director for Ghana Union Movement. Mine is two quick ones. The first is on the concerns raised by our brothers of the NDC. And my observation is that if there is a possibility of the EC's IT department engaging the IT sectors of the political parties on a different meeting so that they can, because some of the things are technical to some of us, So if they themselves meet and they can find a way to understand or to come to a strong, decision on how to implement all that the EC is telling us, I think that would be very good. Secondly, mine is on the missing voters. And after commending the EC for a very good job done to this time, I wish to say that since every vote counts in determining the final outcome of the elections, for us to know who wins by the mandate given us 50% plus 1, I'm calling on the EC to do due diligence in addressing this particular issue, so that at the end of the day, no eligible voter is disenfranchised from exercising their expected civic duty, which is also a part of their fundamental human right to determine who should lead them. So I pray the EC to do this for us. Aside commending them for a very good job done, they need to do due diligence on this for us, on the missing voters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The mic to APC, and then we go to the NPP.
Thank you very much. My greetings to Madam Chair and to all party members here from various parties. First of all, I want to applaud both the NDC and Madam Jane Mensah, the Commission, for doing a great job and listening to each other. The NDC had brought a lot of issues for all of us to listen to. We have carefully listened to it from various platforms, and today we are on the main platform where things were addressed for all of us to hear. But for me, it's going to be very difficult for Ghana to have a perfect system without a national data system. We've been running around talking about data collection, data system, national health insurance, DVLA, Ghana card, EC. In other jurisdictions, I'm sure some of those from the foreign countries are here, they have a data system, a database, one data system that has every information of everybody from the child born today until the last old man standing. We don't have such data. And we must admit that we are doing our best to give each other a perfect data. And that has challenges. We cannot say that we will not have challenges in anything we do. That is not entirely true. So in as much as we want a perfect data, we should be thinking about the APC national data system that we have been proposing all this while. That system captures every information of everyone. And when you turn 18, you don't need the EC to tell you, come and register. A letter will be sent to you to go to the EC's office to register your name automatically. When you turn 18, whether you are a Ghanaian or a foreigner who comes from Ghana or another country, you cannot register if you're a foreigner. But what do we do here? Parties here bring in foreigners to come and register. Parties here bring in minors to come and register. And you expect 100% perfection of a voter register. How is that going to be possible? We are the cause of where we are today, and we must all admit we cannot be feeding the voter register and expect it to be credible the way we want it. So if the EC is giving us something and the NDC is asking a forensic audit into the voter register, there's no problem asking for a forensic audit. But the problem here is that we are only holding a provisional voter register. And that allows for correction, and allows for updates, and that allows us to make suggestions like we are doing now until we get to the final register. It is when we have the final register, then we have problems with it. Of course, we will all agree that yes, we will not go to the election until these problems are resolved. Whether it's coming from the NDC, it's coming from the MPP, it's coming from the APC or any other party. Because we are all part of this game called elections. And we must admit that listening to them today, I'm convinced that they are doing their best. And I'm also convinced that the NDC is convinced that listening to them today, there have been new changes and new development from where it was until today. So, I need all of us to know this. That I also want to appeal to the EC. In terms of Pusuga, the casual workers we take to help us in every process in electoral commission activities, it's also another problem. Don't forget, most of these casual workers are either NDC, MPP, APC, or any other thing. So when we find a problem like this in Pusuga, like Madam Chairperson, it's a human society. If I'm an APC member and I think that a member come and I want to favor, I will favor him. Whether I'm an EC member or not, I will do it. But the point here is that, look at the problem now. We have transfer of vote, 332,000. What is that for? What it means is that some political party were making transfer from where they have strongholds and where they think they have weak or less stronghold and they can win, they will transfer the huge numbers from that place to favor themselves. Are we listening very well? So, this issue that we are facing today is not just an issue of the EC. It's all of us. We have contributed to this. That's the fact of the matter. We have all contributed to where we are. We want a credible voter register, but we feed it with wrong information. We feed the EC with wrong information, yet we want a credible voter register. How on earth will that happen? How? The computers are not human beings, they are systems. What you feed it is what it's going to give back to you. It will not give you a different thing. We want to win elections as political leader, and look at our attitude. We want to be president of the Republic of Ghana, yet we are corrupt. Is this the attitude of the people who want to be president of this country? Is this our attitude? Can we be trusted ourselves? I am ashamed of all of us here. Please,
your time.
Let me finish. Yes, everybody has time. The NDC spoke well. I'm also a big party. Then the issue of forensic audit into the IT system. Let me be sincere with my brothers from the NDC. If there is no IT system, there is no voter register. Let's be sincere. If the IT system is not working, there is no way you can get a voter register. So, I will plead. Yes, of course, we all want what is right for us. So let's wait. Mr. IT man, you were here, and you listened to what everybody is saying. We all want a credible voter register. Because we want, when we win, when the APC win election, there will be war between NDC and MPP. When the MPP wins election, they won't come and say the voter register was not corrupt. They will accept it in this state. If they win this election, they will accept the voter register. They won't come complaining. Am I right? The same way if MPP wins, they will also accept the voter register. So in as much as we want a credible voter register, Madam, well done for giving us a perfect understanding of what you presented today. We are grateful. I am not here to defend any party or support any party. I am here to talk for APC and the Ghanaian people. We are their voice. And we must begin to look at each other and tell us the truth. We are not here for propaganda. We are here to build a nation. We are here to build institutions, strong institutions. And we must all be part of it. I thank you and I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, we'll move the mic to the MPP. MPP, LPG will come to you on the next round of questions. MPP, please. We'll end, after the MPP, we'll end this round of questions. Then we'll take the response from the IT and the Commission.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson. Good afternoon, members of the Commission. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, media, and colleague political party activists. Today is 1st October. I'm barely 9 years ago, 2015, we were assembled here for the same purpose of getting a credible register for the 2016 elections. This same Alisa Hotel, 9 years ago. And I recall vividly, as a member of the NPP team, that when we had made our presentations about the state of the register, that it was bloated, that it was not fit for purpose, and we were calling for a new register. Our colleagues on the other side said, no, the register is fit for purpose. Allow the Electoral Commission to do its work. Why are you interfering in the affairs of the Electoral Commission? Today, they are playing the catch-up. They are playing the catch-up with the MPP. But I'll go back even before 2016. In 2008, just before the 2008 elections, NDC made allegations that there were some 13 constituencies in Ashanti region whose register have been bloated. The then commission, headed by Dr. Afarijan, also met IPAC in this same fashion and constituted a committee, one from MPP, one from NDC, and two from the other political parties. MPP nominated Kwabena Ajay Ejapon, I remember very well, and NDC nominated Dr. Percy. They went into the matter and they came back to report that it was an error from a computer input. So the allegations were dismissed. I think that we are repeating ourselves the same way. So I am very happy and I commend the Electoral Commission for instituting today's meeting to the full glare of the entire Ghanaian public and our friends from other countries. The call for audit, be it audit or forensic audit, is, and I'm repeating what the NDC said in 2015, in this same venue, that it is embedded in the CI 91, a copy which is here, as amended by 126. That was what the presentation NDC made 9 years ago. So what has changed?
what really has changed with the exhibition and various corrections that can be made on the exhibition, be it omission of names, it can be included, be it wrong spelling. What really is important is what the CI says. For example, the CI says you must be resident in the area for a minimum of 12 months before you can do a transfer. You must be resident in the area or the community or the electoral area for a minimum of 12 months before you can effect a transfer. Only last week in the Kumasi High Court, Magistrate Court, an NDC-sponsored transfers were sent packing to go to where they came from. In the Kumasi metropolis, a judge ruled that they were not resident in that area. So they are surreptitiously saying things, one thing, and doing the other, just to court the public support for an election they are going to lose. Don't be emotional. Don't be emotional. You must put your mind back to 2015 in this same area, how you treated the entire presentation we made. What did IEA say? IEA was made up of political parties with representatives in parliament. So it was the views of the political parties that were espoused by the IEA. So here we are, 2008, 13 constituencies in Ashanti region have their votes bloated because Ashanti is the heartbeat of MPP. These were challenged, they went through, and nothing untoward was discovered. In 2015, we made serious effort to get a new register or a cleanup, or what they now call a forensic audit. We went through the motions, all right, but we were denied because the panel, and for that matter, the commission at that time, entreated us to use the mechanism of the exhibition to do any corrections we want to make. What has changed? I want to ask my brothers in the NTC. And today, the NDC is saying 50,000 people are dead on the register. In 2015, and I like to quote from the report of the committee chaired by the late VCRAC Crab, on page 14 of the report stated that by 2016 elections, based on the reported number of registrants in 2012 and 2014, there were as many as 580,000 estimated number of voter deaths. I repeat, by 2016 elections, based on the reported number of registrants in the 2012 and 2014 registrations, there were as many as 580,000 estimated number of voter deaths that would have occurred cumulatively. What happened? They told us to go and bring the death certificate. Where was I going to get the death certificate from? So if you have 50,000 today, it's less than what we had in 2016, but we went to the elections and we beat you with over 1 million votes. We beat you with over 1 million votes. Unprecedented in the history of elections in this country. But Madam Chairperson, the committee at that time commended the New Patriotic Party, must be commended for raising on the public platform the need for a credible voters register. This was in 2015, 9 years ago here. So you may be commended as well. You may be commended. We were commended at that time, so we commend you. But that's how far you can go, my friend. That is what you told me. That is what you told me. So the issues have been fixed. The IT director has said, and we followed it. And I'm telling you that we commend you the same way the committee then commended us. But you are trying to play the catch-up. So we will leave you to your fate. But you have 1,000 fraudulent votes that you try to transfer to Menchia South, which you will have to go back and answer. So for us, we strongly believe that what the IT director and Madam Chairperson spoke about, the presentation, is very fair and is the best method prescribed by the law on how to deal with any exigencies in the voters register. I will leave it to my General Secretary to put a finishing touch to it. Thank you.
Please, we'll give you 2 minutes. Just wrap up 2 minutes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, distinguished CSOs, members of the diplomatic corps, colleagues from other political parties. Just as my Director of Elections reiterated on this platform, our stakeholders in this year's elections, carrying from what APC presidential candidate said, it bestows on us, irrespective of our political device, to make sure that the peaceful country that we are enjoying remains same after December 7th. Madam Chair, not long ago, certain people were asked to hit the street to demonstrate against the Electoral Commission based on what they perceive to be discrepancies and an attempt to rig the election for the new Patriotic Party. Upon several calls from key stakeholders that if NDC indeed have legitimate concerns to raise, we even asked them to do a press conference, invite all of us, walk us through all the allegations that they are talking about. Today, as we speak, the NDC is yet to give those so-called allegations and discrepancies to the Electoral Commission. Let it be on record. And for me, I challenge them that all those allegations that they are making and how the Electoral Commission will be able to address the issue, they don't have any further allegations. If indeed they do have it, they should bring it forth for us to interrogate it and see whether the Electoral Commission has addressed it or not. It's not a question about having a leaking roof and mopping your floor. It's about the data, what you presented to the Electoral Commission. The whole people of Ghana want to see it. And that is the comment APC made. That even the request for forensic audit is needless at this point, because we are yet to see those allegations that you are talking about. And the Electoral Commission has said that they are going to furnish us with the cleanup that they have done. So, Madam Chair, we also want to know from you when we can have the revised exercise that you have done, so that we can also have another look. It is afterward that if there is a need for us to convey again, then the issues that you are talking about, we can even think about or even consider. But at this point, we are asking you, NDC, challenge the presentation by the Electoral Commission and let all of us know. We are asking you, based on 1, 2, 3 names, we are talking about 200,000, we are talking about 300,000, we are talking about 15,000. We want to see those names. If indeed you have it, present for us on this forum for us to see, rather than just doing propaganda with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll give, yes, LPG, we'll come back to you. We are going to take 4 more after the response from the IT and the Commission. So, yes, LPG, PPP, GCP. Okay, you hold on. Dr. Yao Oforeje, the Commission, I think you have some set of questions to respond to. Thank you.
Hi, thank you once again for the opportunity. Quickly, I'm addressing issues that were raised by the National Democratic Congress. The first one had to do with adjudication and the fact that the last adjudication meeting, the figures are not up to the figures that we have here. That indeed is correct, but the figures that you have here are all multiple registrations that have been done since 2020. That's exactly what I presented. No, I could go back to my slides and you see. And I gave you a list of, the title of my slide was the current state of the register as we speak. So the figures you have there, like I told you, you had the total number of valid voters, those on the exceptions list, those on the multiples list. No, the proxies, you see, once again, remember, let me explain to you. Please, let me explain to you.
Doc, let me answer the question.
Explain to you. They were my slides and I titled them. And what I said was that this is the current state of the register. It includes those who have done special voting. Special voting is temporary. So is proxy. So the figures you have there were as it is now. So please, let's not make any mistakes about it. Yes. Right. Yes. Yes. So once again, Dr. Tanko, so that we are clear. So that you are clear and you
Dr. Tanko, please take your seat. We'll give you the opportunity. Please. Kindly take your seat. GFB, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Doc. Please hold on. LPG. Please, I retracted it. I said the commission takes exception to that, and I retracted it, if you could remember. So please, GFP, please take your seat. Dr. Monibuama, please take your seat. Take your seat. There's a forum for all of us. No, we'll come back. Please. LPG, please, let's stop the banter and the interjections, please. Doctor.
I want to be emphatic about the presentation.
Doc, respond to the question.
That was done.
Exactly.
The presentation and the slide showed the current state of the register. And in the current state of the register, we gave you the total number of voters. We told you those who had registered for proxy. And mind you, proxy is temporal. So is special as well. And then we gave you, so a proxy registration is for an election. At the end of the election, those proxy voters go back. So please, let's understand the issues we are discussing. Then I gave you a list of all the people in our register who have done multiple registrations and also all those who have done or who have been objected or challenged to and are on the exceptions list. Nowhere did I say that these people were people who are adjudicated. If you are on an exceptions list, you are there permanently until you use the process that have been described to take you off the list. If you're on a multiples list, it is the same. So please, let's not get it confused. Adjudication, what you have is the cumulative number of people who are on a multiple list since 2020. So please, let's not confuse it. The other thing had to do with proxy voters. Proxy voters, we don't do biometric verification for proxy voters. So there's not a situation where some people are biometrically verified and some aren't. So please, let's clarify that. Then there was a question about credentials. You will all agree with me that a credential that you have for login, and login credentials can be changed by the individual. The credentials that you have for login are only secure for so long as you keep it to yourself. Remember,
we are a human institution as well. You could very well give the password to your phone to your wife, and your wife can access your phone and do whatever it is that she wants to do. It's same with your kids. But in terms of an audit trail being in place, that audits every single minute interaction or transaction that occurs in the voter management system. It's all logged to the minutest. If you change an O to a 0, it is logged. So we know exactly when it was done and by whom. But the security that we have is as good as how secure the person keeps those credentials. And we have even improved the system so that now you realize that some of our login credentials are actually biometric based, especially for the registration officials. So security has been built into it, and we have an audit trail. We know exactly who did what and at what time. Yes, the facial recognition, that said that we have spent so much, how come facial recognition is not there? So ladies and gentlemen, we all know that technology evolves. And technology is only suitable for the time that is able to deliver the solution you are looking for. At the time that we were implementing this in 2020, the facial recognition system was not matured. So it was giving us too many errors in terms of the liveliness check for that particular subset of the solution. It meant that people we might be getting errors in terms of the authentication and would hamper the process. So what did we do? We decided that at that point in time, the technology was not matured enough to do what it was supposed to have done. We have been in constant contact with the manufacturers of the ABIS system to improve it. And fortunately, it's been done. That is not to say that, for example, the same system we use for the liveliness check is able to detect the age of a person or presume the age of the person. I keep telling people, I'm pushing 50, but anytime I use that system, it tells me I'm 28. Is this a system you want to rely on? And every time you deploy technology, it must be appropriate for the time and the setting. At that time, that technology was not right. And the makers of the solution said that they needed tons and tons of data to train the artificial intelligence that is behind doing the liveliness check. So at that point in time, it wasn't appropriate. But fortunately, 4 years down the line, that technology has been improved. And therefore, we've implemented it. And we'll use it going forward. About Enestofori. When we had this meeting with Enestofori, at the meeting, I remember, and for those who were there, that I categorically said that that person was on the register. And there was an uproar. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, I categorically, when you mentioned it and I asked you for the ID number, I told you that that gentleman is on the register and is valid and his transfer is correct. And there was an uproar. Having said that, we realized that you had a methodology for producing your data. That methodology that you had was based on assumptions that were wrong. And so today, I'm coming, let me land. I'm coming. So today, even if you use your online system, there are people who, when you check their system, tells them that they are in some other place where they are not supposed to be. And therefore, that in itself is a problem, because now the public is using a system that is based on a wrong data set. And we have examples of that. And possibly, it is important that the Commission makes it known that using systems that has data that's been extracted with, I don't want to use bad data sets, but the truth of the matter is that that's what it is. You then getting wrong information from using that system. And we encourage everybody to use the system that has been developed by the Electoral Commission to verify their voter details. Now, the question about reversals. Remember I said every transaction is tracked, including the transfers. So we know exactly where you are coming from. If you've done one, even from 2020, if you give me a voter ID, I'll be able to tell you exactly where the person has moved from registration to transfer. If you did special voting, it is all documented. And so it's very easy for us to reverse transfers when we want to. It's not a problem at all. Now, the last question that was asked was the example that is Yarea, right?
Yaira, yes, asked about voter ID numbers, somebody having a different voter ID numbers. Yes, that indeed did happen. It did happen in 2020 because once again, we're doing offline registration. Now, offline registration, what it meant was that there were some of the systems that were issuing the same ID numbers. This occurred in 2020. Since 2020, 2022, 2023, 2024, we've not had any such occurrences. All right? But in the past, when we're doing the offline registration, there were instances where some of the IDs overlapped. And I think this was well documented. And when it happened, those people who had the duplicating or matching IDs, we issued them with new IDs because obviously we saw the conflicts. And so those conflicts were fixed. So I don't know which case you are referring to. And once again, if you share the information, we'll go into it and we'll find it. We are open to correcting any issues that may arise. And it is important for us to understand that. Once again, I just want to go back and reiterate, the statistics that we have there are actually what is currently pertaining now. Proxy voters are temporal and they are for an election alone. Special voters are also temporal and they are for an election alone. Multiples are permanent. Once you're on a permanent list, once on the multiples list you are permanent unless you go to court and have the court reverse it. Same with the exceptions list. So the figures you have there are the cumulative figures since 2020 and not for 2024 alone.
Please. PNC, please, take your seat. Please, take your seat. We'll come back to that. Please, take your seat.
I think there was a question by Goom. The method. So anybody who we detected as having been illegally transferred, like I said, we have a record of where they came from, and therefore it's easy to reverse them. Okay. What Madam Chair mentioned is that, and what I also did was that, as this has happened, we are actually in a process of auditing all the transfers that have been done. And I even alluded to it, that we are using the physical paper records and comparing it with the data that we have. We know all those who did transfers by fingerprints, and we know all those who did transfers by facial recognition. And we are trying to find the people who may have spoofed the system and bring them all out. I don't make the algorithm. The people who made the ABIS are applying that. Pardon? Okay. The most important thing is that there are steps to identify if any spoofing has been done. Okay.
Thank you very much.
The algorithm is a proprietary algorithm. We don't know it. The manual voters. The question from Goom was, where would the manual voter list be? The missing voter list will be. Once again, missing voters, I've already explained to you, are people who rightly did a registration, but either they have a problem with their biometrics being corrupted, or their data never made it to our data center. Now, for those whose IDs are corrupt, we know them because we know what corrupt IDs are. And so we are trying to get them to come in and do an inclusion. For those who are reported as missing, we are getting these reports from the vigilance of the district officers who are on the ground. And they are using a number of things to find out. Remember that at the end of every registration day, there's an end of day report. That end of day report consists of all the people who have been registered. So the districts, they know who have registered, and they are comparing it with what is in the register and what is in the district viewer. So if they know that this person was registered and they can't find them, immediately they flag them as being missing. And indeed, if we check and the person is not in our database, that means that the person is missing. The other thing we do is that then we go looking for their Form 1A and their Form 1C. Remember that it is only after the end of your registration that you get your Form 1C. And that is evidence that the registration actually took place. And then there's the Form 1A. So
we've compiled a list of all the missing voters. And like Madam Chair said, we want to ensure that nobody is disenfranchised. So the Form 1C and the Form 1A will be made available at the various polling stations. If the person does show up to vote and his name is not on the list, we'll refer to the list and find out if he's on. If it's there, we'll look at his Form 1A, Form 1C, compare it with what is on his voter card, and if he passes all those checks, he's allowed to vote. So that's the explanation for it. Thank you.
Now we are going to take the last set of questions. I think we are getting tired. Yes, I'll go to LPG, and then I'll come to GCPP. Yes, LPG, GCPP, NDP. Wow, everybody. Okay, so we start with LPG. Please, this time around, we're going to give you 2 minutes.
No.
2 minutes.
My brother, don't bring that. My name is Kofi Akpalu, the next president of Ghana. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of all the other parties to commend the NDC. They have done the yeoman's job for taking time to go through the register to be able to identify 50,000 people, 50,000 dead persons. It's not a joke. Then, Dr. Boama, well done. And 50,000, when you divide it by 18.7 million, it will give you 0.002. And this is not even up to 0.01%. So in auditing, this will be classified as immaterial. So no auditor will spend time to work on that because it's immaterial. So those who are calling for forensic audit, at this point in time, it casts my mind back to 2016 when what is that judge's name? The judge that we met at Alisa, VCWWQRC crap. Yes, VCRAC crap. VC crap, yes, okay. He said something, and I want to bring all our minds to it, that we had no time to waste. So from now to 7 December, it's 65 days or 67 days. When are we going to do this forensic audit? 276 constituencies, 40,000 polling stations, 18 million registered voters. Who is going to do that auditing in less than 60 days? So, NDC, please stop this request because it's not going to help anybody. And mind you, this is a biometric register. No dead person can come out from her grave or his grave to come and vote. So if there's a dead person on the register, what is it going to do to affect your results? So please, this one is non-starter. You shouldn't have even sent that request here. You have wasted everybody's time. So, EC too need to be commended for the work that they did this morning by presenting this to us. This has demonstrated that EC is up to the task. They know what they are doing, and everybody must commend the EC. And I'm not going to accept that human error institution or whatsoever, because we all know some political parties in this country have been registering minors
and foreigners who are not supposed to be on the register. And they have transferred a lot of people from places where they have no business to go and register to elect members of parliament. After doing this, then they turn around and come and tell us that the voter register is compromised. This register is not compromised. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. On my list, I think I'll take it to PPP. And then we'll move to the NDC. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone.
I'll come to it.
I will be very, very brief.
Please be.
One thing excites me about the Electoral Commission's presentation, and which is in all of this, they give us the assurance that they are either in the process of fixing the challenges, the anomalies, or they have fixed. However, one thing is also obvious from their presentation, that they admit or they come to terms with the fact that there are anomalies and discrepancies in the register. And so, in the provisional register, in all of this, in the voter management processes and systems, there are certain elements that play a role and eventually culminate into the final outcome of what we call the voter register, which is the processes involved, the people, and the kind of technology we are using. I want to know, as we are all here, we all know that from the back end of the voter management system, there could be anything happening there that we are not aware. Just as the IT director said that certain things are happening and they could happen again. What I'm trying to find out from the director is that, and from the EC is that, what mechanisms or measures are they putting in place, or have they put in place to ensure that these loopholes will not be exploited by somebody, some bad person somewhere at the Electoral Commission to put in or key in persons that are not eligible to vote. I just want to know what steps they are going to put in place.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, PPP. Because the mic is there, I would like to go to NDP, then we'll come this way, then we'll finish up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Quickly, from the proceedings so far, I think we are making fetish of the management of the IT system, even though the IT manager has explicitly explained to us, most of the observations that the NDC made. Please, don't let us take our attention away from the regulations that are provided in the CI. It is very, very important. After all, it's the CI that gives direction to how maybe the IT system, should find out whether there's any fault or how to solve a challenge and so on and so forth. Please, the whole electoral process is rule-based procedure. And the EC itself is a creation of the law. The most important thing is that they are the very nerve center of our multi-party democracy. And the way we carry out, the IT system and challenge it into the extent of calling for a forensic audit or whatever, probably is not the route to go. That would not help us in any way. The point is that if you look at the regulations as they are stated, there's nowhere, where it brings out or states that at least there should be something forensic. I think it is very clear. If you take the voter, the exhibition to the provisional voter register up to the certified, the procedures there corrects everything. So consider the problem of the NDC as somebody, the analogy that I give them is somebody who has maybe a spiritual malady rather than a physical malady. The problem is that, you see, we are all obsessed at this time, of the year going into an election to think that if we don't do A, B, C, probably we might not, win or something like that. But the problem is that everything is rule-based. We go out in the public to proclaim our flag bearers as having won. Or better still, if they don't win, then it means we are not going to agree and so on and so forth. In violation of, the creation of the electoral management body. So these are the things that we have to look at. I think the laws are what we must concentrate on, and not even the ICT, the IT system. If we want to dwell on the IT management system, I think we will not have any solution out of the problem that they have asked. So it's very, very important that please let us look at the CI, and see how we can apply ourselves, to the CI for the resolution of the problems that we have. Everything that you have said here can be, found in the regulations that the CI produces. And that is very, very important. Let us respect the regulations. Otherwise, we'll not get out of this mess. Thank
you very much. Please, we move it to GCPP.
Thank you very much. My name is Citizen Atudazi, the General Secretary for GCPP. I think today I will walk out of this room very proud as a Ghanaian, because the electoral body has allowed itself for this open forum on this discussion. This cannot be found in even other developed countries. So I think it is important that we all become proud as Ghanaians seeing this day. I also want to say that our election processes has developed based on contributions by political parties. And we have made a key stride because the NDC did not relent and they pushed for this. So I also recommend the fact that their vigilance has also led us to another stride, which will become a history for all of us. In all this, I want us to remember that we are about 68 days to election. It is important that whatever that we do, we know that we are behind time already. Based on the calendar of the EC, we were supposed to receive the final register on the 5th of September. Today is the 1st of October. So we are already behind time. I would want to find out when will the certified register be ready for all of us. Number two, in all the deliberations that I've heard, we have referred to CI 91 and CI 127. That means that it's important we play by the rules of the game. And if we decide to go outside the rules of the game, that is where we would have all these issues that are happening. And I think during Madam's presentation, she made mention of another forum which could be on their website in terms of auditing. I think CI 91 Regulation 23 talks about the Commission providing or posting the provisional register on the website of the Commission. This is embedded in CI 23. I believe the exhibition period is over. CI 91 Regulation 23. And I believe the exhibition is over. So I am not too sure if we are opening ourselves up again for other processes that are beyond what is captured in the CI. We might be introducing a lot of interjections which might take us a longer period. So I think we should all agree that the processes have been laid out is being followed. We look forward to a certified register so that we can go on with the rest of the elections. God bless our homeland Ghana and make a great and strong.
Thank you very much. On my list is CPP. CPP, yes.
Right. Good afternoon. I know we are all exhausted, but let me just say one thing. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Electoral Commission for being a listening commission. We've been going through a lot of processes that leads to demonization of our institution in Ghana. Most especially the Electoral Commission has been through this through the MPP, NDC. And this time around, I want to say, Madam Jemensa, thank you very much for being so robust and resolute on these matters. We are also, the CPP's position is very clear. What is the position of the law as far as these matters are concerned? Once the positions of the law is so clear, from the CI 91 to 126 and all those ones that are spelled out here, we don't need to jump out of the bus when the bus is moving. We need to be very careful. The situation that we find ourselves in this country, it appears to be like every election year, like Ghana is leading towards to an end. And I think this must stop. We must stop this. And also, I would also like to say this to the NDC, that they should take out propaganda out of every argument that they raise. That leads to electrifying the system. The temperature is so high in this country, like my senior brother said, Hassan Ayaraga. Ghana must survive and Ghana must live on beyond elections. And this is what should guide us. I mean, calling for demonstrations against a document that is at the draft stage. I mean, for God's sake, that is really, really above board. We know, everybody understands the word provision. Everybody understands the word provision. And also the media. I think you should also stop participating in these kind of things that you hyper the situation too much by giving so much listening ear to when issues are being taken on the propaganda level. You should be able to differentiate and know that Ghana stands first and Ghana must win. On this note, I'll say once again, we are all happy today for the display of the IT department. I'm going to walk out, like my brother said, walk out of this place very proud, because Electoral Commission takes a lot of things that we say are IPAC. Because today we have the media here. Some of us have been raising this issue, that the issue of trying to let parties go out and give audience to media is putting the Electoral Commission on the mat. And I think today, thank you very much for putting that on the drawing board and solving a solution.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll give it to the lady, I think, yes. Please, your name.
Hi, my name is Esther Saidanso. I'm PNC National Women's Organizer. And this is my question. I've witnessed a several incidents on election day where people go and their fingerprint, the biometric cannot verify it. Same as the facial verification. So if this case happened, will it be that it will be offline verification? And if I may ask, how authentic would that be? Thank you.
Please, Tanku, Dr. Tanku. Dr. Tanku, please, Dr. Tanku. Dr. Tanku, please. We are giving one slot to you. One slot to you. You raise your hand and then I wrote your name against it. Please, 2 minutes. Thank you. No, please, PNC has responded. Please, Mr. Dr. Money Boama, please go ahead. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. Please take your seat. Dr. Monibuama, 2 minutes. We are all wrapping up. It is obvious that, but for the NDC doing the hard work, analyzing the provisional voters register, a lot of the political parties that are speaking here today, they got it and went to sleep. They should be thanking the NDC for this thorough work. Unlike there are no interjections. Unlike 2015, when a certain running mate was bandying around 80,000 names in the register, that was proven to be false, said Togolese. What we have put before you here is authentic. We are clear in our minds that the issues that we are dealing with, coupled with the fact that, and the IT person of the EC has confirmed, that the login credentials can even get into the hands of girlfriends and all that. Is that not a key reason why we should be interested in the IT system, particularly as these are the manifestations that we are having? So we have presented our petition to the Electoral Commission as NDC. The petition is clear and obvious that we want a forensic audit of the register and a forensic audit of the IT system that produced these anomalies. What we will do is this afternoon we are meeting as a party, and the good news is that you hear from us after our meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Monibuama. We'll conclude with the MPP, and that's it. Please move the mic to the MPP. MPP.
Hello. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, commissioners here assembled, our friends from the media, our colleagues. Just to put it on record, we received the provisional voters register. We did the needful. The New Patriotic Party has been very consistent that we printed them for our polling station executives for them to do audits. It is the reason why in Menchia South, the court has ruled that those names should be transferred back to their original polling stations. That's what we did. You've been commended already by Chairman McMenu, so that is fine. But the issue is, out of all the issues you raised, it was only one, Ernest Ofori. Of all the issues, the categories you raised, and the numbers involved, 284,000 transferred, 15,000 transferred, 50,000 dead people. It was only one. So please, I think today the data has said it all. The data has said it all, to the extent that your methodology has questions. I think that for the commendations you've gotten here, you should be humbled enough to review your methodology so that you not raise issues that do not have basis to be a focal point to cause a certain mayhem in this country. Madam Chair, I heard you in your opening remarks that there are about 40,000 plus polling stations. You want to have specific numbers so that it will help with our planning arrangement towards the D-Day. I also want to bring this to the attention of the IT, that you should still be mindful of people trying to get access into your system so they will hack it. Be mindful of that. Madam Chair, we've observed elections in some other countries. We've been to Kenya, we've been to Nigeria, and few days to elections, these are some of the issues. So I'm happy that today we've had this session, expanded IPAC that is being beamed live for Ghanaians to watch, so we'll be able to compare. I don't think using certain platforms to make issues with that basis should be the order of the day. If not, it doesn't help our cause. And I think for all of us here, we want to have a peaceful elections. And the new patriotic party, Mark Menu said it, from 2008, have been championing for credible elections and register. We will not run away from that. But let it be put on record that as much as we support the call for credible register, doesn't mean that we will run away from the CI 126 as amended and 127. We will continue to go by it and will not be detracted by the NDC. Madam Chair, in 2020 elections, in 2 polling stations, one in Ewutu Senior West, one in Boko Central, the EC staff responsible for ballot issuing, for the fact that our presidential candidate then, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was on the number 1 on the ballot, was torn off. He was torn off. So the ballot papers that were issued did not have him on the ballot. Thankfully, you issue a statement questioning all officers that any ballot that do not have all the 12 candidates on it must be deemed to be invalid and rejected. We want it to be put on record. By God's grace, the new Patriotic Party's presidential candidate is number 1 on the ballot. We don't know what has happened to those people who committed such crime. We don't know. But the new Patriotic Party will not take it anymore. We want everybody serving Ghana at any level to be truthful to himself or herself. The new Patriotic Party will always support.
Mr. Evans Makun, please wrap up.
Thank you very much. We needed to confer. Madam Chair, so we went through also the presidential process, so we know those who are in the contest. Notwithstanding the call from Chairman Asaki, we'll still know. But I want to find out, in terms of the parliamentary, when are we getting the report on those who will be on the parliamentary ballot? And also to add to what my General Secretary said, Madam Chair, we want to find out when we can bring our hard drive to pick the corrected provisional voters register. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On this note, I will give the floor to Dr. Yaufuri Eje to respond to some of the issues. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm addressing a few issues that came up from the last submissions that were made. The first one had to do with the backend system and what sort of access control we have in place. Ladies and gentlemen, please be rest assured that the Commission operates a zero trust policy, and therefore, by default, we don't trust anybody. Let me finish. By default, we don't trust anybody, and what that means is that all our logins are authenticated, and we encourage and strive and implement and ensure that after a period of time, logins are changed. So we don't trust, and that's a zero trust policy. So there's visibility in terms of whatever anybody does. And so we know exactly who has done what and at what time. That is the only way we'll be able to safeguard the data. And everybody is aware that if you do something, we would know.
So back-end systems even have zero trust policy throughout. The question was asked about what happens if fingerprint fails and facial fails. So the sequence of events is this. First, you are verified by your biometrics. We all know that over a period of time, your biometric fingerprints degrade, especially for people who do hard labor, like farmers and laborers. So it's very possible that we will not be able to authenticate you biometrically using your fingerprints. Then we move to facial. If facial too does not work, then there's the manual verification process, which is well published and established and will be used. I'd like to take this opportunity once again to reassure everybody here that the systems that we have put in place have been deliberately designed to make it secure. So for instance, it's been said that biometric voter registration kits have gone missing or have been stolen. That in itself is not accurate. It is the laptop that is in the kit that has been taken away. It is important for us to realize that the laptop on its own can do nothing. It can't, because hang on. It's important that we do this because it speaks to the heart of the security systems that we have. Okay? There's a process that allows a machine to connect to the system. And for every registration exercise that we do, we undertake a deliberate process of enrolling which machine can connect to what, and even which machine can issue which sets of ID numbers. So, even if a machine is taken away, remember that we've got these processes that we use to enroll the machines. And so somebody may take a machine, but that machine is as useless as it is. It can't connect to the system to do anything. So rest assured, the system is secured and we are continuously improving the security that we have as technology evolves. And that would be my last comment.
At this point, we'll give the floor to Madam Chair to give us the closing remarks. And then we'll have Reverend Ikuya Ufori-Boateng, Commissioner, Electoral Commission Ghana, to give us a closing prayer. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much to all of us for being here and for your useful considerations and your feedbacks. We will definitely take it home and reflect on it, and I believe that quite a number will be used to strengthen our processes. I thought I'd like to end on the issue of trust, because Dr. Omani-Boamah in his statement indicated that they have trust issues with the Commission. As a Commission, we believe that trust is built on transparency, the sharing of information, our responsiveness, and providing the citizenry with facts and information and the evidence. And we believe as a Commission, we have demonstrated that we've been transparent, we've been responsive, we have not hidden any information, we've been responsive in addressing the issues of the citizenry in a timely manner, and we've provided them with evidence and facts. You would attest, and you agree with me, that right from registration through to the declaration, we've opened up all our processes to the citizenry. I believe that this is the only commission that has done that. If you look at the registration since 2020, we have provided the citizenry with daily infographics, daily information on the number of persons who have registered across the country, drilling down to male, female voters, and also to persons with disabilities. And so any interested citizen or political party should be, at the end of the day, be able to collate with near precision the number of persons who have registered throughout the country on any given day. In the conduct of our affairs, we may make mistakes, and we have made some errors which do not go to the heart and do not affect the credibility of the registration and, for that matter, the election. They are minor errors, and it's not to say that we gloss over it. But the good news is that we have been very responsive. We've come out very quickly, we've issued statements, we've made corrections, and we have moved on. We have not hidden the truth, or we have not remained quiet. We have addressed the issues and informed the public that yes, some errors have been made. Here are the corrections. And we have provided this in a timely and accurate manner. And so for us, this is the trust that we speak about. I'd like to also state that we do not have anything to hide. And if you would notice from our registration, whether it is the balloting we've opened up to the media, I do not believe this was the case prior to 2020. In the case of nominations, we've opened up nominations to the media, and every single political party has had its turn. And they have been given the opportunity to address the citizenry. And we've also provided the citizenry with the opportunity to observe the process. This is what we call trust. And today, we've opened up IPAC to the whole world, and we intend to do so going forward. I think there's nothing that we've hidden. And so this is the best we can do, and we hope that we can improve upon it. But you agree with me that our systems have a lot, they are built and they are robust. And the framers of, the Constitution and our CIs embed processes that engender trust. And so right from registration, 21 days before the start of a registration exercise, the political parties are provided, the EC provides the political parties with all the gazetted centers. This is to enable them to prepare their agents and have them observe the registration exercise. And so from day one, if it's for 21 days, party agents are given the free will to observe the registration exercise. The good news is that we embed a high level of transparency in the sense that party agents are provided with a start of day report indicating the number of persons who were registered the day before, and they're also given an end of day report. Again, that has built transparency into the process, and that should engender trust. If parties have any issues with the register, they have the collation. If they notice that in their strongholds the numbers have dwindled, or that numbers have gone higher in other places, they have the documentation, which is the start of day that the system generates and provides to them. And so the question is, any political party can today, with the start of day and the end of day reports, collate with near precision the number of persons who registered on any given day. And yes, some of them may have been challenged. The good news is that the district registration review committees have party reps on those committees, and therefore they have that information to be able to act and to use it. You come to exhibition, the law embeds transparent processes, robust processes that should engender trust. The register is displayed for the whole world. It's a come one, come all sort of thing. And everybody can go to the registration center and view it. And if you have an issue, you have every right to raise it and have it corrected. And that is the process that is in place, and it works. In addition to that, we have the magistrates, the district registration review officers appointed by the Chief Justice, who sit at every district and hear cases. Persons who are aggrieved, persons who have issues with the register are provided an opportunity to present these cases, and they are heard in a transparent manner, and rulings are given in writing. This again is a transparent and robust process that should engender trust. You come also to the balloting. We all know recently when we were balloting is open to the general public. The EC does not determine who is number one. Indeed, people have said, oh, do you determine? We said, no, you ballot. And even as to who takes the ballot that will determine the positioning is not done by the EC. There's a process that allows parties to pick, in the order of the party that will pick the ballot first. All these processes are transparent and they are covered by the media. I believe that this should engender trust. You come again to nominations, as I said. It was an open process. There was fairness. Committees were set up, and there are reports that have been provided based on the committee's work. The process is transparent. A few have taken us to court, and we will prove to the citizenry and the people of Ghana that the process is transparent, is fair. The EC has nothing to hide, and it has no intention to stop anybody's presidential ambitions. You then come to the printing of ballots. Ghana is one of the few countries in Africa that prints its ballots in-house. We are enjoined by law to provide the parties with details of every single printing house that is going to print our ballots, and we do this. And so from day one to the end, in fact, in some cases, even after the election, the parties are within the printing houses. They are monitoring their ballots. We provide them with the serial numbers of the ballots so they know that there's a range for each region. And therefore, if you go to a region and there's a ballot that is out of the range, you should be able to raise questions. This is the transparency of the process. They remain in the printing houses 24/7 until the ballots are packaged. And to add to it, when the ballots are packaged, the Electoral Commission puts its seal on the ballot, and so do the parties. They then accompany the commission and the police to the police armories where the ballots are kept. And there also, the parties had their agents waiting to receive these ballots, and they remain there until election day. We know how it works on election day, that the ballot boxes are opened for all to see. Unlike countries in Africa where the voting is done inside in a building, ours is done in the full glare of the public, and any interested citizen can sit and observe the process from 7 a.m. to, 5 p.m. if they so wish. Prior to being at the Electoral Commission, I used to do that, to go and visit many polling stations, and nobody stopped us from standing decently and observing the process. And you could do that all day if you so wish. But we know that the way it is done, the ballot boxes are open for all to see before the start of the registration. And at the end of the process, in the full glare of the public and the agents of the parties who are present, the ballots are poured onto the table, they are separated and sorted out, and they are counted in the full glare of the public and the party agents. They have a right to demand a recount twice, and if they are satisfied with it, they append their signatures. Where they are not satisfied, they state the reasons for their dissatisfaction. We then go to the constituency collation centers, and the same process happens there. We go to the regional collation centers, the same process happens there. And all of these collation centers have the agents of the party who verify the processes, who inspect and make sure that everything is accurate, and who append their signatures. Of course, at the polling stations, we all know that when the party agents sign on to the pink sheets, a copy is posted at the polling station. And the beauty of this process is that every media house and every citizen has the right to take photographs of these polling station results, which are the basis of the results. The polling station results are not changed. What we see at the polling stations pasted on the wall forms the basis of the results that the chairperson announces. From the polling station, those results are sent to the constituency collation centers, and the party agents are there. They are satisfied, it is collated, and it is put on the summary sheet and the results collation sheet at the constituency. It is then moved to the regional collation centers. They also collate these things, they are satisfied, they put their signature. So no results emanate from the head office of the Electoral Commission. Everything comes from bottom up. And the good news is that the media are enabled as a result of technology to take pictures of the polling station results across the country. And what we saw in 2020 was about 8 media houses who had the results which were close to that of the Electoral Commission. This is the transparency of our process, and this is what should engender trust. I believe that as a commission, we have gone out of our way to address issues as and when they come, whether from political parties, whether from civil society, whether from stakeholders and the ordinary citizenry. We've addressed them at a forum that we instituted in 2020, the Let the Citizen Know Forum. We commission felt that it was in our interest to demystify the commission and to remove the cloaks of secrecy that had hitherto shrouded our operations. And so today, from A to Z, from registration to the declaration of results, all our processes are open to the public. And that is the beauty of our democracy. And that indeed should engender trust. I'd like to thank all of you for your time here this afternoon. I'd like to thank all of you for your time here this afternoon, and to thank our media partners who continue to work with us and work with us, and who allow us to bring our processes to the doorstep of the citizenry. We look forward to seeing you at the next IPAC meeting, and as mentioned, we would have the media cover all our processes from media IPAC meetings from now on. We should, within the next 2 weeks or so, or earlier, present you with the revised, provisional voters register as indicated, to allow you to review it and to inform us of any discrepancies that you may have. In addition to that, as that goes out, we would also, post, the register online to enable citizens have the opportunity to inform us of their discrepancies and to allow us to correct them. We thank you so much. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. I also like to thank our development partners and our CSOs. We couldn't have come this far without you. Your input, your feedback, regular input and feedback has been very useful to us. Well, it has helped to strengthen our processes and engender the trust that we seek to put in place. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
We'll now share a word of prayer from the Commissioner, Reverend Ofori Ikuya Ofori Boateng. Please, shall we be on our feet?
Let's stand and pray, please. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, when our Lord Jesus Christ was about to depart, he prayed for all of us. His prayer was not that we should be healthy, not that we shouldn't die, not that we should win elections, but that we should be one. Our prayer, Lord, is that you pour out your spirit of unity upon us as political parties, as citizens, as all the roles that we play. Let us be one, Heavenly Father. Pour out your Holy Spirit on us, that anything that causes disunity in us will be removed. We thank you, Father, that you have heard and answered our prayer. And now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you his peace. And the blessing of God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be with all of us, remain with us, guide us, protect us, today and forevermore. Amen.
credible elections in Ghana.
And from a full bebo, and for a bottle with the Ubomo, and what Ghana ha, far what to answer, yet the bottle with the Ubonina, Ebebro.
GAD, say about battle dear, Ubenya near Ope, say be a far battle who be ano, yet the Bebro.
A balance some far about to and found this Susanswa and the Bebre, GAD, Yaquadra about to a muye, and Uti, yes, Sene Fata, yet the Bebro.
Wafia ba ye kwoto ibu e won central dwom no yen ye sere so ene sie wone to ne kan ene ne bobo apaye wa bato asie
Big money, money, money. Pesca bebre, mula bebre, anala jan bebre. Every day can have game pack for pick 1, any pick 4 agree. Game pack for the mo 30 Ghana cedis free. But you winning mula bebre. And you didn't cry. Dial *946#. Then you 30 Ghana cedis a kwaba bonus. Na fe chow bete dikai. They didn't kunim for game pack agree so. Na benya mula bebre. And ne ya. For gamepackgames.com. Then yan chechemu. Game pack agree. And ele mrate chre. Show so. And you ma wani endi if you do watch it.
Yo, Jay, what is this? Why, you go write emails or something?
Charlie, the bills and taxes are for paying. That's why they write plenty like that too. The movement from taxation to production, it make means.
You read the NDC manifesto as ND. That's why you the hustle. Your mama say when he come power, he go exempt micro and small businesses from paying VAT. He sounds to go give 2-year tax holiday to new businesses. So say them go first stand them elect up and grow better before them go start they pay corporate and personal income tax.
Charlie, that they go for me. Now I make my mind say I no go vote. But this one dear, if I change my mind, then go vote give John Mahama.
That no be all. He also go scrap e-levy, COVID tax, emission tax, and the 10% betting tax. No.
The e-levy said the cheapest.
Swear.
I like the tax wrong with you. Charlie, Kwanzaa, what else Mahama talk?
If I talk you everything today, what else I go talk you tomorrow?
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.